Consequence Podcast Network.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of oh.
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome once again to The Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast presented by Consequence of Sound. My name is Mel Misty Mornin Castle, and I usually say I work at an animal hospital, but that's no longer true, constant listeners.
Oh, no.
I have resigned from my post because I'm going to start grad school in August. So big things are happening, huge things in the mist for me. Let's go around and introduce everyone who's here today in this fog bank. To my left is
Michael David Drayton Rothman.
Wow.
No alliteration.
just the protagonist of the novella.
Actually, I'll go back. I'll go Michael Ollie Rothman.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Your role model?
Yeah, well, I was riding a skateboard this morning, so Ollie actually works.
Oh, God.
Did you do an ollie?
I can't do an Ollie anymore.
Oh, you were the one that was trying to hit with my broom?
No, but there was another skateboarder that I was like, I now connect with him, but I think Justin would still hate that guy.
I'd probably murder him if I saw him on the streets.
All right, no one knows how old Mike is based on this conversation, but let's go to whoever's across from
Between
him.
12 and 48.
Yeah, that's true.
This is Mackenzie Repler Gerber.
Ooh.
And I got no joke there. Constant contributor to this podcast and constant mist lover.
The TV show?
Absolutely.
No, at Six Flags, he always walks into those things that douse
yeah.
you in mist.
Yeah,
That's what he means.
I spend a lot of time at amusement parks, but when I do, I don't spend a lot of time riding rides. I just go and hang out under the misters.
What's your process for going to amusement parks?
My process?
Yeah, you like get up in the morning early and make sure you get the...
I get up really early. I make sure that I get out there early.
Yeah.
Because if you get there early bird gets the worm.
Yeah. Do you guys like roller coasters?
Of course.
You don't get sick?
What if there was a mist roller coaster?
Well, hey, this book is a roller coaster, am I right?
What if you literally were going through a roller coaster and it was just fogged, and then every once in a while you see something come out?
That would be
Terrifying.
scary.
That'd be great, right?
I think that's probably
invest.
happened at outdoor parks, right? It has to in
Yeah, they have to-
certain areas.
They have to figure that out.
And then maybe you hear like Mrs. Carbony the whole time, just be like,
Just yelling
the
at
wrath
you.
of God.
They have an actor on the ride with you, sitting in the back, just yelling out different
And occasionally,
Bible
like-
verses.
I do that for free anyway. I'll yell out Bible verses to people on roller coasters.
Oh, who yells out Bible verses
I
to
do.
people? Well, what's your name?
Oh, my name is Justin Gerber, a Bible verse yeller on amusement park.
Oh, wow.
A senior writer at Consequence of Sound, and I am so tired right now. Listen, last night we did a little doubleheader. Well, some of us did a doubleheader. We watched The Black and White Mist,
Great.
and then some of us went to the 10 o'clock showing of The Shining at the Music Box Theater, and it didn't get out until well after 12:30 a.m. And then, so I get to bed at around 1:30. I could not get to bed.
The best of us skipped The Shining.
The best of us, literally the best of us. And then I woke up to the sound of construction once again right outside my apartment, and then they were also doing major cleaning outside my apartment, like my front door. And then there was also birds chirping at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I am so fucking tired right now. I can't explain. But you know what? I'm here. I have an obligation to be here, and I'm going to give it my best today. If you hear me start to pass out any
Well, listen,
second,
Those
Justin,
birds kept me up too, though.
If you start hallucinating, I think that'll only add
That'll
to the
only add
flavor.
to it. That's true.
Yeah.
I'll be in a misty haze any second now.
Is it really a summer or spring thing that you start hearing the birds that early in the morning?
It's got to be summer because I
Well,
can't
the days
recall
get
hearing
longer. It gets
before.
light earlier.
I hate it.
They're up
I
there
hate it
just
so much.
screeching.
I did not go to bed until 5 in the
I've
morning.
had the same apartment for 3 years now. I cannot recall ever being awoken by birds outside.
Could be that construction.
I think a certain little family must have found out. Oh, these telephone lines are
Well,
right out
I
here.
think
guys are
if
such
you
curmudgeons.
put a little cinnamon on your
I want to wake
windowsill.
up at 5:30 in the morning every morning. If I want to wake up at 7:30, I'd like to wake up at 7:30.
They're that loud?
It's unbelievable. It's like this off rhythm too, so you can't like kind of syncopate it and then go back to sleep. It's like it's inconsistent. Oh god,
I
hate
love
them.
waking up to bird song.
I've been seriously thinking about getting like a BB gun and just and opening up my window and because it's right there, you know.
No, just get one of those fake owls, you know?
Yeah,
And
you
put
could.
it on top of
those?
the telephone wire.
No, or outside
Isn't that
your
a
window,
story
I
in
guess.
Skeleton
Or...
Crew?
Maybe that's why I hate the movie Bird on a Wire so much.
Hey,
Hey, that's one of my favorites, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. You know, I was watching one of the best Mad Maxes last night, Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome. Not true at all.
Beyond
Probably
quality.
the worst. It is very beyond quality. And I was thinking, God, Mad Mel. He for a while there, he actually looked like his '80s self, and I think at some point in the '90s, he just like flipped. And it might be Bird on a Wire.
I think we've got another Mel that's gonna get a little upset if we get too far off on the tangent.
That is true.
no
That is
joke.
true.
Thanks, Justin. I was going to say Under the Thunderdome, and then I was going to like
Go
redirect
back
it
into there. Yeah, because
Full circle.
Yeah. So, The Mist. How did you guys first get into it? Lose yourself in it. I read it a long time ago. Skeleton Crew is one of my first Stephen King short story collections. I read The Mist before I saw the film, and I remember loving the novella. I think it's great. I was into Lovecraft at the time, so it was a good coincidence that I read them close together. And I'm sure I read it in about an hour and a half, and it kind of just clips along. I mean, I don't know how anyone puts that down once they start it and they know it's so short. But I always loved inventing monsters, and the way that he sets up this crazy supernatural occurrence feels paced so well. And I don't know, it's one of my faves. I was probably
6.
Shut up, old man.
It's a compliment. You're reading like big boy, big girl books.
I was probably 14. I don't know.
Oh, this is anywhere between 12 and 15 years ago, because I was working late shifts at a hotel, and it was during that 3-year period. I remember reading this and many stories from Skeleton Crew during that time. And so this would have been before the movie was even conceived at that point. And yeah, I'm on the same page. I loved it. I'm pretty sure I read it in one shift. It was very dead at my hotel, so I was able to do a lot of reading. Some might say it was the night shift. Stephen King reference.
Ooh.
And
That's a Stephen King reference.
by the way,
It's also another short
it's not even a
storybook.
deep reference. And yeah, I loved it then, and yeah, we'll get into the movie later on too. But yeah, a big fan back then, a big fan on the reread as well.
I had heard of the Mist film and the crazy ending for a long time. I'd never watched it until a couple years ago, and somehow, miraculously, I think I didn't know about the ending. I think I knew the ending was different from the book and just like nuts.
You hadn't read
But
the book,
I didn't.
so you didn't
I hadn't read
have
the
anything to go
book, so I had nothing to go off of. So I was genuinely just jaw dropped when I saw it, and then it wasn't.
We
until
will be spoiling that ending
Yeah,
later in the episode.
sorry,
Just
folks.
so if you haven't seen The Mist, like go watch it, and also watch the black and white version.
And it wasn't until, gosh, maybe 3 weeks ago that I read the story, and loved it. Loved it. Big Mist fan.
Oh, Mist fan. Did you get misty-eyed reading it?
Of the Mist fans, yeah, I was very misty-eyed reading it.
I hopped up a misty mountain, as I might say.
What's funny for me is I lived with a big King head, or a constant reader. He was so obsessed with Stephen King. He's from Maine. Bill Hansen, who actually directed Survivor Type,
Which is a story that is
Billy.
found in Skeleton Crew.
yeah, and we will be talking
It's
about
great.
that. We're going to talk about that adaptation too. But he had all the hardcovers, and we used to talk about King all the time. And we had known that the Mist was coming, in a year or two or something like that. Not the actual Mist,
Sound
but
like
the
a
movie.
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
It's on its way.
No, the movie was coming, and I remember him saying like, "Oh, you got to hear the audio drama." And so he burned me a copy of it, and I drive through Tallahassee, which is actually really fitting because it would actually get really foggy in Tallahassee, and I would listen to it on my way to work. So I actually heard the audio drama before I read it and before I saw the movie. No,
Who
I
did
didn't
the
know.
audio
Wow.
drama?
I was trying to look it up.
I know.
Oh, really?
So this is really strange. So they actually adapted the audio drama. It wasn't supposed to be an audio drama. It was actually a screenplay by Dennis Etchison.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Who, if you follow the Halloweenies, wrote the novelization for Halloween 1 and 2 and a screenplay for 4.
Yep.
So that was a really cool connection when I
Wow,
was
that is
doing some
crazy.
research on this.
Interesting.
But I did not know that you heard that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's very moody. It actually feels like the perfect medium for The Mist because it's told through David's point of view and everything. So
Is it a one-to-one audio book, or it's adapted?
No, it's a radio
Yeah.
dramatization. Like, so there's characters, people doing the voices and sounds and everything.
Is this
like
the
that.
one where Sadler plays Drayton, or is that the audio book?
I think that's
God,
the audiobook.
Yeah.
If that's the audiobook, I really want to listen to
Yeah.
that. now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get into
I love
adaptations
Sadler.
later too.
Well, because it was it's like a 3D sound project that came out, and it's great. It's just really, really great. And so I got really into this story, and then by the time the movie came in, I finally read Skeleton Crew around that time, and just I love the story, love it.
All right. Well, let's get into where the mist came from. how it formed in Stephen King's head and when exactly it started to spiral its way down the street and towards the supermarket. It was actually written in 1976. Back then, King's agent, Kirby McCauley, said, I'm putting together this big anthology of short stories that'll be kind of a testament to the horror genre of our decade or our time right now. And King has said, it was really hard for him to kind of churn this one out. It really wasn't working for a while, but eventually he did write it, and he kind of liked where it was going. And Kirby took it for his anthology, which was published in 1980, called Dark Forces, New Stories of Suspense and Supernatural Horror.
It's a lot of darkness there.
Yeah, so you get an idea of what the book is about. It's an anthology of 23 horror stories. And yeah, that came out in 1980. And that is also the time that Frank Darabont first started thinking that he wanted to do the movie, like a long time ago. He read it in the original anthology. So it wasn't until 1985 that Skeleton Crew came out, and it incorporated a slightly edited version of The Mist. I think King said he kind of tightened it up. He did some work with, I think, the Amanda Dumfries scene and just made that more, I guess, organic. I haven't read the original. I would love to get a copy of that anthology because it's got tons of great authors in it, including like Joyce Carol Oates, who is racist and bad now, but I think she writes some good scary stuff.
There were such good times.
Yeah, they were great. But it sounds like a really good anthology, and I would like to pinpoint those differences. I don't think they're huge, like nothing plot heavy. How King got the idea, he actually has two different versions of how he got the idea. They're slightly varied, but both of them involve being in a supermarket and imagining what would happen if a weird supernatural monster inhabited that supermarket. In the actual notes for Skeleton Crew, so at the back of the book, he kind of goes over his process for each story. He says, in the market, my muse suddenly shat on my head. This happened, as it always does, suddenly with no warning. I was halfway down the middle aisle looking for hot dog buns when I imagined a big prehistoric bird flapping its way toward the meat counter at the back, knocking over cans of pineapple chunks and bottles of tomato sauce. By the time my son Joe and I were in the checkout lane, I was amusing myself with a story about all these people trapped in a supermarket surrounded by prehistoric animals. I thought it was wildly funny what the Alamo would have been like if it was directed by Burt I. Gordon. I wrote half the story that night and the rest the following week. So that broke him out of his spell where he couldn't deliver anything to Kirby. Later on in an interview with, I believe, Nightline, he says, there was a market, it is an actual market in Bridgeton, Maine, where my wife and I lived at the time, and I'd been blocked for some time. I'd written a very long novel called The Stand, and I'd finished it, and I couldn't seem to get anything else going. And about 4 months went by, and I would try things, and they would die, blah, blah, blah. So I was in the market one day, and I was shopping, and I looked toward the front, and I saw the whole front of the market was plate glass. And what I thought of when I saw those big plate glass windows was, what if giant bugs started to fly into the glass? But whether it was a pterodactyl or a giant bug, he started writing
Mixture of both.
This novella. And it was a big year for King. 1985 was huge for him. That's the year that Stand By Me is going into production, as well as Trucks or Maximum Overdrive. He has, this is from Tor.com, who did a great Stephen King reread.
This is the classic era.
It is. He's going to be featured on the cover of Time magazine that year with 4 books simultaneously hitting the New York Times bestseller list, 2 new books on the stands in hardcover, 1 new paperback, 2 movies, one of them considered his best, one of them considered his worst going into production. So it was a big year for him. And actually, we'll get into more of the history of Skeleton Crew when we're doing those episodes. But it was like a pretty big hit, especially for a short story collection. It sold 600,000 copies in its first year, which is kind of unheard of for a short story collection. And a lot of people agree that the crowning jewel of that collection is this novella, which is the first listing in Skeleton Crew. It's not super long. It's like 130-something pages or something like that.
It's roughly the same amount of pages as Elevation is going to be, even though that's labeled as a novel right now, which is weird.
Well, there seems to be a good trend going on where less is considered more.
The quality might be fine, but that Pusha T album is not an album.
Hey, it's 23 minutes of brilliance.
That Kanye West album is not an album.
Hey, you went off on a tirade on Twitter yesterday.
I deleted him immediately, though.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, why? Those were valid
I
points.
just didn't want to get involved in the conversation. I was just saying, okay, I'm going to start calling My Iron Lung EP and the Airbag EP by Radiohead albums.
I was going to say,
do that.
I was going to say, hey, when is My Buddy Valentine's 8th album coming out? Since they have like 6 EPs or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. These are still the drug years for King also. That's all I have for history. If anyone else wants to add anything, please go ahead.
He was definitely, coked up, I guess, around this time, too.
Yeah. He's in the market like, what if?
But like you said, when he wrote this, he was not coked up.
Yeah.
76?
Yeah. I think it was like the late 70s when he started to
No,
develop the habit,
76, not so bad. 85,
Oh, yeah.
pretty bad.
Well, hey, a coke addiction costs money, and if it's in the mid 70s, I don't know if he had it. So
He's still like churning out rage and
yeah,
everything. in the
yeah,
70s.
right. And it's interesting. He said this was written, at a time when he was still starting to develop his prose and when he was becoming celebrity king. But you read this book, and there are so many anecdotal tangents from David's point of view that could only have come from actual real life experience from King. I think there's about 75% of the way into the story. All of a sudden, Drayton starts talking about why people are obsessed with genre fiction at a time of crisis. And he's like, well, at a time I was talking to one of my friends who was, writing a fiction and monster fiction or something like that and horror fiction and how, people love this stuff. And, sometimes a zombie walking through the field in the middle of the night is more comforting than having to go through the news. And you can kind of tell that like King is still bridging his own personal life into a lot of his main characters, which is something that I certainly noticed like in his earlier books, not so much in his 80s stuff that we've been talking about. You see little echoes, but when you start going into that little left turn, I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. He's because that was something he used to do all the time, especially when you read Salem's Lads. Like it almost seems like Ben Mears is like his would-be godsend doppelganger.
And you get, this is present in, I think, a lot of King's work from this period, but fatherhood musings too. Like what would happen if this awful situation happened and I have this. I think Billy he's a toddler. He's about the age Joe probably is. He's in the market with Joe when he has this idea.
And
That's
certainly
what's really cool about that. I think just, had he not been there with Joe, like, would he have had these thoughts? You know what I mean? Like, would his mind have been in that place, So it's just kind of cool how that came about.
Well, even like the whole concept of, hey, I'm a townie here. I'm a local. And there's that whole discussion. It's like, oh, yeah, you're Hollywood. You do your posters and all. And that sort of dichotomy of, no, I am born and raised. This is my town. I'm not an out-of-towner. And yet I'm seen that way because of maybe of what I've been able to accomplish. I just saw a lot of like King welding himself into David here. It's interesting that you mentioned the Joe comparison. I didn't even think about that with like the Raising the Sun, because that's something also fueled him for The Shining. That's the conceit of that book came from his own inner
All the happy
fears.
times.
Yeah, all the happy times for sure. Yeah. But anyway. Wait, did we talk about the storm?
Oh, yeah, the storm actually happened. So that's
is-
part of the inspiration for the book. Like a huge storm hit. And there was a water spout, which is also described in the book, which is a crazy phenomenon of nature.
Yeah.
If you've never seen one in person, you'd probably be terrified. I haven't, but it sounds awful.
It's just a tornado over water, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a tornado over water, Mac.
Well, you see a lot. Like there was one actually off the here in Chicago at one point. There's footage of it, like downtown. Like there was a water spout that you can find that on YouTube. But it's pretty terrifying. You see him in Twister as well. There's a couple. When is they going across that bridge?
He's a night crawler.
You're like, you see him in Chicago. You see him in the movie Twister as well.
Jan de Bont Twister?
Jan de Bont.
Okay, so we can get into a synopsis. That's a good transition point when you're talking about the outsiders and insiders of the town. So this takes place in a town called Bridgeton, Maine. The movie's set in Castle Rock, but this is not.
No explicit references to other King stuff in the short story that I could think of.
No King's
Spoiler
Dominion
alert.
here?
There's one
There's
little minor
two.
thing. Oh, you got two?
I have
okay,
two.
wait. I got one minor one.
He wrote this in what, the late 70s, mid 70s?
76.
76.
So was this pre Castle Rock stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
So
and
there
you
wouldn't
kind of
have been,
do
yeah.
definitely get the Castle Rock vibe, though, especially with what you're talking about, Mike. And reading Mrs. Todd's shortcut later, there's the same dichotomy of insider-outsider, but it's in Castle Rock.
Interesting.
And so I feel like there's something germinating. So this movie, or this film, this book, this novella,
this radio drama.
all of them, this TV show on Spike.
On Spike.
Rest in peace.
This novella follows David Drayton. We're pretty connected to his point of view, even though there are lots of other people in the supermarket. It is first person, and it's told in the past tense. So you get the sense that David is telling the story from a time when he's able to narrate it, which gives away that David certainly can't die given the events of the book. But it starts with a big storm, as Mike mentioned. There's a huge storm. They are on a lake, and their boathouse gets destroyed. They head into town to get supplies with a neighbor that David Drayton doesn't really like. They've had a property dispute in the past named Norton. And he's going with his son. He leaves his wife, Stephanie, at home. So it's David Drayton, Billy Drayton, and Norton in the car going to the supermarket to pick up supplies, and they notice that the mist that David had noted earlier in the day hovering over the lake has come onto land and is overtaking everything in a very freaky fashion. And kind of all hell breaks loose from there. They're trapped in the supermarket after it becomes apparent that heading out into the mist is a bad idea because there are monsters in it. What kind of monsters? We'll probably get into that.
You want to
Bad monsters?
I think you're the only one that actually has a specific. Is that Skeleton Crew? Or
Yeah,
is that,
Skeleton Crew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't
So
think any
no,
of
we
us-
don't have we don't have a book.
They didn't
jacket
really
to
start
read.
the individual editions, at least popular, until the movie came out, as far as I can remember.
As far as I'm concerned, that's a pretty good synopsis, though.
Oh, thanks.
You know, A+ there.
I wanted to briefly just quote a Kirkus review from when The Mist came out. It's not very favorable, but I think it's funny. The horror mist is never explained, but one cannot avoid feeling that it is a self-punishing psychic projection of King's consumer society, which is mocked up from paste characters without a single breath of life in them. King sculpts these dummies with as much art as he has, but it is an art which has failed to deepen since Salem's Lot, his most carefully styled novel. King's shorter stories are more artful, but even so, judging them against each other is as hard as telling a Wheaties box from a Fruit Loops box by chewing on each.
What's funny is because I always thought Kirkus reviews were like the hacky reviews that would always support whoever they were talking about. Like if you read Kirkus reviews now, it's very rare that you'll find negative reviews. That's really strange. I wonder if something happened along the way, so that their honesty now is gone. Now it's just like a bunch of shilling.
Hey, your hacky comment does make sense here. He starts applying the cereal metaphor because it takes
Well,
place.
he's a big
in
fan of Cujo.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, so is a Funko Pop, creating that bloody cereal that we all want to eat.
Yes. Don't you see? Don't you see how clear it all is? Not only can you see the future, I can change it. You can change it, exactly.
So this reviewer seems to think that the hook is like very Dawn of the Dead-ish, which doesn't make sense to me. Like they're
Only in
going
the
to get
sense-
emergency supplies.
It's only in the sense that they're stuck in a store
he's
where they're
talking
stuck in
about
a
a
mall.
consumer society.
I get no consumer.
I didn't
There's a
get
lot of
anything about
analogy
consumer.
going on here. There's
Yeah.
no consumerism analogy going on at all.
Honestly, the biggest surprise that I had was in some of the compendiums, they were talking about how there was a fear of technology in this, which I guess makes sense when you think about the Arrowhead thing, but I actually saw it more as like a
didn't see
commentary
that
on
either.
like faith, a commentary on hope. I saw this weird sort of eco-terrorism that we've done ourselves to the community. Because
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like the whole Go Green thing, I think definitely spawned big time throughout the 70s, I would imagine, right? You know, when we start actually noticing that our ecosystem is screwed up. And the anecdote that I mentioned earlier, where King's talking about leaning on fiction as an escape, or genre fiction as an escape. The example he uses isn't war, isn't political terrorism. It's like fear of the ecosystem and what we've done to our environment. And with that, and then also knowing that the raft is coming up, I mean, there's a lot of weird
Yeah, it's skilled.
That's a very interesting point because I think we were discussing watching the movie, and this is very present in the book, how the monsters have a fully formed and functioning ecosystem where they interact with each other. There's predators and prey. And in a way, it can be seen as like, well, we fucked up our world so bad, it's getting taken over by something else that is naturally functioning.
I also feel like it's just all about what do you do when your back's against the wall, and how do you
Oh, for
react?
sure.
And that literally, do you find religion to find your sanity? Norton, for example, absolutely goes against everything that's in front of him from the beginning, and came
Flat
to the
Earther
point.
society.
Yeah, and yeah, it's really flat earthers, goddamn. And it's also just about mass hysteria in a confined space. It's all basically society inside of a cafeteria, pretty much the way that the sects break up after a
Yeah,
while.
they compare it to Lord of the Flies a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
The monsters are due out on Maple Street.
Yes,
There's a lot of Twilight Zone and things going on here. Especially, we'll talk about the movie.
King himself says, with time, the mist reminds me of a big, exciting version of a Twilight Zone episode, like the monsters are due on Maple Street.
there you go.
right.
In
there
that
you go.
episode, these aliens did an experiment to see what fear did to human beings. In the mist, there really are monsters, and they show up on Main Street in this little town. Granted, the situation is unreal, but an audience can say, here's a good, harmless place where I can actually test drive what I would do in a disaster.
And I think people are scared. They just cling to whatever makes sense in their own brain to get through what they need to get through.
100% agree. Again, it's what do you do when you're presented with a reality you never expected to experience?
And how long does hope last?
Not very long for many people in the supermarket.
Sadly enough.
Well, I feel like in the story, I feel like it actually lasts longer than it does in the movie. But in the book, I actually feel like as soon as it starts to get to that point, things are kind of like stopped. Which is cool because I was really afraid of going into that territory really deeply because the whole religious split off and demonizing of people and that whole thing is just it can get very scary and you can feel very, very alone.
It's interesting that I never thought about the idea that this was conceived. You said that this was after The Stand?
He had just finished The Stand.
So it really makes sense at that point because you're split into three different groups in this book. You have the sort of fundamentalists with Carmody, you have the Flat Earth Society with Norton, and then you have the sort of, I guess, pragmatists of
the
like the
adapters.
Draytons, the adapters.
I think the anti-tech point is a really interesting one. He has a whole rant where he talks about when the network goes down, you kind of see how scared shitless everyone gets. And I think you can draw a connection between that and Norton's struggles with his chainsaw at the beginning of the novella, because Drayton is someone who is kind of salt of the earth, classic king protagonist, where he knows what to do after a storm decimates his boathouse. Right. He is very practical. He works with his hands. He can start a chainsaw. He's a post-apocalyptic asset.
He's Stu Redman.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that makes even more sense that he had just finished The Stand and he has something that's so similar, and the romance between, or the quote unquote romance between him and Amanda is very similar to like the early sparks of love between Stu and Franny.
I don't think there's any romance going on.
There's no romance. It's more of just like, hey, look, we need to go to the Bone Zone. We're going to the darkness at the edge
Meet
of
me
town.
in the office, babe.
Yeah, it's like a Springsteen song.
it's actually her that says "Meet me in the office, babe."
Yeah, step into my
Oh, I
office.
know.
baby.
So she says, "Meet me in the office, babe."
Well, your voice was very low and
Well,
manly.
I thought that she had like a Kathleen Turner voice. That's what I was going for here.
Like
she sounds
2007
like
Kathleen Turner.
office, babe.
She sounds like me.
Why don't you come upstairs and meet me in the office?
Oh Jesus, is she dying?
No, it's actually in my adaptation. I actually cast Amanda as the guy from Kinky Boots and Independence Day.
The guy from Kinky Boots.
Yeah,
Harvey Firestein?
Yeah, Harvey Firestein is actually Amanda.
You mean Mrs. Doubtfire?
Oh, and Mrs. Doubtfire too. Yeah. Why don't you come up in my office, David? Oh, David. Oh, it's funny because his
That'd be a different story.
different story. Yeah.
The timbre of your voice doesn't have to do with your gender.
No, it's true.
Moving on.
Exactly.
As
So
we
the-
learned in Seinfeld.
Hooks, I think Justin's right. It's kind of just survivalist situation. Lord of the Flies, what happens to a microcosm of society when it's trapped in a terrible situation and death is imminent. But I also really like the points that you made about the green movement and being a little anti-tech, which is a Stephen King pet project. Like, he loves to.
Yeah.
I
bring
think
that stuff up.
I think at
Cell
that
and
point it's
everything
that's more just like the fuel for fear. I think at this point it's still less cerebral and very just like, okay, what am I going to tackle next? I've done End of the World, I've done vampires, I've done telekinesis. Mist. What am I going to associate this at a real world level? Oh, we are worrying about the ozone, like
And military research
It's
and
true,
chemical
yeah.
weapons.
Mistrust of the
and-
government, which is a huge thing from the 70s and like late 60s onward. So,
Yeah.
you can definitely tell he's a liberal reading this story. So
His politics in his fiction are so fascinating to me because he is a liberal politically, but he's so good old boy, like at the same time.
Small towny,
Yeah,
town,
like
yeah.
And that was another thing about the small town. Just again, it's kind of Salem's Lot-esque, where all of a sudden, when you're put into a situation, you really see these people for who they are at their core and how they react to these things. And I just really love it.
should we talk about how this book is structured and formatted?
Yeah, David.
well, technically, these are a bunch of napkin tales.
Napkin
Napkin
Tales.
Tales.
It's a bunch of napkin tales
It's a
at a
spin-off
Hojo
podcast.
Oh,
that is
yes,
our
that's true.
we find out he's been writing all this on a bunch of napkins from Hojo.
And napkins save the day in Eyes of the Dragon.
They do.
That's true.
Good connection,
Ooh,
Justin.
nice connect.
King's Dominion.
Wow, yeah, jumping into the King's Dominion.
Napkin Tales. That was after Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater, right?
Napkin
Napkin
Yeah,
Tales.
it was the follow-up.
Terry Garr's Napkin
Far
Tales.
tamer show than DuckTales. You have these chapters, and I wonder if these are on the napkins as well. They kind of foreshadow or don't foreshadow. They straight up tell you what's going to happen in the ensuing section. It's like, what happened to the bag boy?
Right, it's almost
Going
like-
into the office with Amanda.
It's almost like he wanted to remind himself what he wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I guess
Which
and
makes
if
sense.
if it's written as a journal, then that would make sense. Yeah, don't forget to mention this part here. Yeah,
So
interesting.
it's chapters with subheadings that tell you what's going to happen in that chapter.
Mm-hmm.
How much time really elapses? It's like a couple days.
Is it a day and a half or 2 full days?
I think it's
I
three
think
full.
it's-
I think they leave on the third day, right?
Maybe because
And then they kind of did a little bit of a time jump for the last.
Yeah,
chapter.
they're getting up
Yeah.
really early in the morning to leave, right? Because they can't leave at night.
I think they leave on the third day because there's two nights where they're worried about it's going to be night again, and you know like what do we do if those creatures come back? Yeah,
I imagine he wrote this maybe 48 hours after having finally left the market, maybe 24 hours after. I mean,
I think it's
Well, they
a
run out
little
of
period
they,
of time.
they run out of gas, or they're
Yeah.
running out of gas.
Yeah, because they're holed up now at the Hojo, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a little bit of time has gone by. Not like months or weeks, or I think just some days have gone by when he starts writing that.
enough that he's able to process certain elements without it coming out into his early prose.
And they're able to finally track down the fact that there might be other people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
say yeah one
do
more
love
time. Yeah.
constructions like this just because if you think about it for more than a couple of seconds, it's like if you actually found napkins in a Hojo that someone had left messages on, it would be like, was at supermarket, monsters everywhere. Go to
All
Hartford.
caps.
Like,
Run.
Yeah.
but instead he remembers every detail and every quotation. And I
It's
don't
just
know.
it's
I
very
just
much like the
I like fiction.
like Franny's minutes in The Stand before she records them. It's
Right.
like these Glenn Bateman's monologues that she's absolutely retained. She's like Mary Lou Henner. She's
well,
got
I also
photographic
think his just literally coming right off the heels of that. I think it's all very fresh in his head, and some of it's like. I'm sure I think he has a photographic memory. I think he's like our fellow loser Dan Caffrey. I can see Dan being David Drayton.
memory. Yeah, you said Mary Lou Henner from Taxi.
Dan's
had a
way
photo-
too nice to be
photo-
David Drayton.
No, I can see him being Drayton once he has kids.
I think if the character of Amanda had propositioned Dan, he would have been like, I don't know.
I don't know. I got
my son's here.
I got Hank in the
I
back
got
home.
my dogs, and the dog food. I'm afraid he's gonna start eating the dog food. But thank you.
Do you think
Love you, Dan.
if Caffrey was Drayton and he's wandering around the supermarket trying to make sure everything's ordered, he probably does make sure that he keeps checking on the dog food that he was supposed to bring back for Hank, right? Like
Yes.
he just keeps going back to it. Like, all right, no, nobody's touched it. Okay, good.
That would be his number one concern.
He's more like the woman. He'd probably just like leave to go make sure Hank's okay.
I think so. Yeah.
I left my dog at home.
will
He
see
gets-
a Caffrey
He eats
home?
squirrels.
You?
I'm afraid he's gonna get bloodlust. I've got to go get him.
Dan, we love you.
Love you,
Hank.
Dan.
We love Hank.
All right. Well, that's the structure and format, but maybe it's time to talk about the characters inhabiting that structure and format, and maybe some more Dan Caffrey. I don't know.
I think we can fit Dan Caffrey. Would you consider him a hero or a villain, though?
Well, let's talk about him.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
I think Dan Caffrey's a hero. Anyway.
Dan Drayton.
So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the biggies or the
Yeah, we
undies?
gotta start with the biggies. We usually do, right?
Yeah.
So Dave.
Cool guy.
Yeah, kind of boring in how cool he is, really.
Much like
Yeah.
Stu, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of just everything exciting happens around him.
Yeah. Well,
Which
I
makes
think
for a good writer of the
he's
story.
always
you
right.
know?
He's never wrong. Is he
Yeah.
ever wrong in this book?
Well, he does some business upstairs in an office, and
But I mean, he never
Thou shalt
says
not
something
cheat on
and
thy wife.
is later proven to be wrong.
Trying to think.
He's
Well-
always the voice of reason.
he's pretty true blue hero.
I feel he does take some fault in going into the pharmacy, which seems to be a failed trip all in all.
That's a field trip, I guess. Yeah.
You know,
But
he
it was
loses
noble.
57%.
He needs to go there for the
but it
woman.
was-
Like
yeah,
he's
they
doing
had
the
to go
right
for the-
thing.
But
They
is
had
he-
to try.
Is he the one that thinks that there's something going on with Carmody first, or does Amanda mention it
good
first?
question. I feel like it's Amanda, but let me
I thought
find
it was
that
Amanda,
section.
and then he comes in and discusses it. But the thing is that when he does come back from the pharmacy, he realizes that Carmody was right in saying that they are going to die. You know, like when he comes back and 57% of his team is gone,
I
only
think-
3 of the 7 survive.
Yeah.
that's a lot of.
But
like,
I think that's also the scariest things because, like, I mean, even though he does realize that, he also knows that other people are going to see that, but not see it for what it is, which is just, you know, it's dangerous out there versus this woman's right about everything. And, then, you know, it starts to go down a dangerous path.
Yeah.
It's almost funny because, you know, when he comes back into the store, I feel like it's almost a scarier situation in there. In a way, you know, but
yeah, a lot has changed in the whatever minutes it took for them to go to this pharmacy. I imagine the pharmacy stuff was like what 3, maybe 5 minutes tops.
Oh,
like,
no way!
You know,
no. But think about how quiet and how careful they would have had to been to do that. It probably was like
20 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Miller, the cool out-of-towner,
Oh, okay.
who points to Mrs. Carmody and says she's going to be the real problem. You know, that would be Dan Caffrey. Dan Miller.
Yeah.
He'd be like this really helpful, insightful guy who doesn't actually live there.
He'd be the one running in saying, "There's something in the mist that took Hank."
That took Hank. Yeah. Let's keep this Caffrey talk.
No.
We can stop. But the thing that Drayton, as we mentioned before, he's a local. His father was a much skilled artisan than he was, and he admits he followed in his father's footsteps. And you learn that early on. You actually, I feel like you learn more about David's past in the first 60% of this book than you do about his current life. You learn about what his father did, ties to the area, the you know, from the boathouse to
Best
building the
memory of
house.
his wife. It's like about her pulling up her dress to show her leg or whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny. Early King, I usually don't like the flashback motif that he uses, especially, you know, you look at something like Rage. So I guess it was written around this time, which is crazy to think of. But I actually like the touches here of him kind of looking back on his career and how he's commercial now and how people look at him now, which is very Kingian, by the way, I'm sure. How people reacting to him as a quote unquote like a commercial writer now, having done Salem's Lot and Carrie. But I think it really works here. Even though the actual A story is absolutely compelling throughout, I didn't mind these little like travels back in time or who
No,
this
I didn't
person
either.
was.
We really live with him for a long time,
Yeah.
just to
almost
get a feel
need
for his
to.
family.
Well, it gives it some sort of credence to why, as you were mentioning, he's the kind of everyman guy that is able to do whatever he can in the post-apocalypse situation. Like, you know, he is a skilled person that has been raised that way.
And we have to appreciate what he loses, what he has to pass on later. We have to get to know Stephanie a little bit and feel that keenly when he can't go back and get her.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially it's just having the boys, you know, attachment there too. Like if you don't spend time with her, it wouldn't matter enough, I guess, during the actual story. Yeah.
I do like, and then setting up with Norton too is important because I think I still felt I forgot where his arc goes since the first time I read the novella, and I was like, oh, like there's this weird kind of redemption happening.
Yeah.
Where Norton is an asshole in the past, but he comes into town with them. He's kind to Billy, even though he's ogling Stephanie and David.
Right.
David's like, I don't know. He kind of softens on Norton, and you think, oh, maybe Norton is going to be this unexpected ally when the shit hits the fan.
Exactly.
But that's not what happened.
No. But that's a great mislead because I thought the same thing too. Reading it, you want them to be like the duo, like the pair, you know, and then
And they even say like he's going to be the one that's going to convince people. So like, let's go get him. And you think they're setting it up to be this partnership.
Yeah. Nope.
and it's not.
And then he sucks.
Yeah. But Norton, he's that is a cool character because you got, I guess it's our first instance of seeing David being tested where he has to be really level-headed about the insurance and all that stuff that he's talking to him about in the beginning. And so much so that he's like, okay, yeah, I'll take you into town. And like, you know that he's able to like, you know, navigate a scenario with attention, I guess.
Yeah, he's super mature.
Yeah.
He's not a drama queen.
Yeah.
The way they said it for me, I feel like whether or not he becomes a villain or remains an ally throughout, I figured he would stay around to the very end. So for him to be off, maybe halfway through the short story, I guess.
Yeah. And we don't know if he's
Like,
off,
even-
but probably.
He's probably
Yeah.
But that was again startling to read. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe in the story.
I think that he probably got away and managed to get another $40 haircut as David, you know,
He probably
accuses
got
him
that chainsaw fixed.
of. Yeah. He got his chainsaw fixed.
He comes back like with the chainsaw roaring, like saving everyone.
Let me ask you a question. That's a good point, Mel. If that actually happened, would this have destroyed the entire story for you?
That would have been really bad.
Yeah, that would have been unbelievably bad. Like you think, oh, they're all dead, and all of a sudden he comes railing in like Ash Williams, just starts mowing these tentacles down with his. He goes, "Who's the townie now?" And revs it up.
He is believable though, and you do kind of feel bad for him when they try to get him on their side, and he's like, "Oh, I see what this is. Your in club is just playing this stupid joke on me, and you think I'm gonna fall for it because we had this dispute, and you guys are all a clique." And like, that's very realistic.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's paranoia there. I do believe when you get that kind of townie atmosphere that they look on the outsider like that. I mean, yeah, I bought it. I obviously should have listened to them, but I do buy the fact that he would maybe be a little mistrusting. I do. That's our boy Norton.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to backtrack and talk about Billy or Stephanie. They're
pretty one.
Billy is like a very well behaved child for what is going on. I mean, he has a tantrum or two, but like,
he gets his candy bars, he's good to go.
Yeah,
as any kid, I think, no matter what the situation is, you get him a couple Snickers bars or whatever it is.
And I think the love David has for him is pretty palpable and well conveyed.
Agreed.
Fathers and sons.
Not to double back too much on David, but I think King does a really good job in showing that he's afraid. I mean, obviously this comes from his point of view, so you get really deep into his head. But I like the idea that he's so willing to admit the things that do scare him and the fact that he has to hide that fear for the safety of his son. I wonder if there wasn't Billy involved, would David progress into a downward spiral? I feel like Billy's the one that keeps him in check in a lot of ways because he has to hide so much of his own fears and cynicisms. Even before the mist really rolls in and the horrors are out there, David has a realistic, cynical way of looking at the world. Like he understands that things are fucked. Like he understands that the world is not as great and rosy. And his career is like that. Yeah, he's he's jaded and cynical. I mean, he's worked with Hollywood types. So I think that there's that dichotomy of having to be like the strong father, but then also being just this terrified human being that has to give out answers.
If we want to compare and contrast with Stu Redman again, I think Stu's big thing was always everybody stop panicking, stop acting like a bunch of assholes. But David's is more like stop panicking, stop acting like a bunch of assholes. You're scaring my son. Mm-hmm. And I do think that the fatherhood element absolutely does kick in this story.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
I think he has to for his son, and then also just because of the person he is, with you're mentioning, to me it's less cynicism and more like he just has to live in the present. Mm-hmm. And that's how you adapt to things. You only respond to what's going on in front of you. You can't be thinking about like, well, what happens when we reach this marker? What happens when my career is here? What happens when the mist is in Boston and not ending? It's just like, I need to get my kid a blanket.
Yeah.
Well, he's like a realist without being ignorant about it.
Given what we've just said, how do we justify David going to the pharmacy?
Well, as we discussed off mic, I think we were all trying to figure out exactly why it was, but we had mentioned one of the women was injured, right, correctly, her ankle sprained.
There's an older woman that was trampled in the chaos when people went all back into the marketplace.
When the bugs broke in, the pterodactyl kind of started to break in.
Nobody cared that they were running over this.
Also, possibly just a test run to see how far they could get out and if they could make it. And also, I think to see if there's other survivors over there,
and let's remember the really important thing. Billy needs his comic books.
Oh, yeah, that was the main reason. My son needs to read the comics.
Well, I heard that number 237 of Spider-Man was available.
Talking about it, I just don't buy it. Like, I mean, I get that David thinks they need to leave eventually. It's not going to be sustainable to stay there. And that he's kind of treating this as like if we can get to the pharmacy, we know it's possible to move through the mist to some degree. But why wouldn't you just let everyone else go and stay with your son?
Maybe no one else really wanted to go, or maybe he felt like, I don't know, he was the best person to...
Maybe David's just a Leo, and he's a natural born Leo. And
David's a Gryffindor.
He's a Gryffindor. I think, honestly, like you have to think of it from a narrative standpoint. If David doesn't go, it's not in the story. So he has to
This is true.
Well, I don't think it's crazy that they go out there at all, because I mean, we'll think about it, like if there aren't any kind of first aid, anything, or they've already run out of it, they don't know how long they're going to be in this store at that moment. They could be in there for weeks. So why not go now while they actually have a bunch of people before, like one by one, they're whittled down, and then they don't have the means or the people to go and bring things back.
He is thinking of his son in that the ultimate goal is I need to get him out of here.
Yeah.
And I need to prove that that's possible for me first to get out for a little bit. It's 20 feet to the pharmacy, so can it happen? But it's still a pretty fucking big risk.
I think that's also that fear of not knowing what the hell else is going on. Like they don't have a radio. I mean, they do, but it's not working. There's no news that's filtering in. They have no idea if there are even any survivors over in the pharmacy that are in the same situation as they are. I think it's also kind of a process of elimination at that point, just to figure out like, well, what the hell did happen? Why haven't we heard anything from them? And that's why it's kind of terrifying when they walk in and like, oh shit, the doors are wide open.
So it's like,
know,
ooh, what crawled in here?
There's confetti everywhere and there's a party.
He has become the de facto leader of the rationalists as well, which is also a weird position to be in when you have a son. Like,
Yeah.
It's basically what we've all been saying as I've been reading through this. David says, I think we should go out, and people are like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. And he goes, what I'm getting at is I want to get out, but I don't want to be dinner for some refugee from a grade B horror picture. 4 or 5 of us could go next door and check out the situation in the drugstore as a sort of trouble in.
yeah, so send someone else and stay with your kid. I don't know. Well, I think he has to go as a show of leadership too.
Yeah,
right?
I think he has to like sacrifice too. Yeah, because I think it's harder for him to say. Because here's the thing: think about this: when Norm was sent to his death, those 2 guys are like, "You do it," whereas David would have been a hypocrite if he said, "Okay, this sounds like a good plan. Everybody go do it.
Yeah.
Good luck." You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's such a bad position to be in when your first priority is your son. I feel like
could have brought Billy. I mean,
he's
Billy would have had
organically
fun.
forced into this leadership position that he might not want, but it's just because he is the most adaptable and the best guy for the job.
Gotta go.
I kind of wish that Billy went and was able to just kind of see the horrors himself, And
I wish he went, and then when the spider showed up, David just kind of throws Billy.
And he like throws him in the air, and the spider just immediately catches him in the air.
As much as I would have wanted to protect my son, I feel like in a situation like that, I wouldn't trust these other people to do the job. For me, at least, I would want to be one of the people that was going. Yeah. And I think it's as simple as that.
Well, speaking of people that David trusts and that we trust, maybe we should talk about potentially the best character in this novella.
Love Ollie.
Ollie.
Love Ollie.
I was gonna say. And it's because you said that he's the best character, that I probably would be Ollie if that was in the situation.
No, it's funny. Actually, I thought that.
Are you a crack shot?
When I hear Ollie Weeks,
am.
I think about Weeks, and I think Meek, and I think that he's a good example of that. What do you think about that? If you
Well, he's a very
if you turn
meek character.
the M upside down, or for the W upside down, it becomes an M. For
You know what they say about the meek, they'll
They shall inherit the earth, and they get killed
by a giant
unceremoniously by a giant.
Well, I don't know
dinosaur.
about being a crack shot, but I do feel like as much as I like to think I'm a leader, I'm much more of a follower. But I think that I would be like Drayton's right hand.
Yeah.
Man. Like the guy that agrees with him, the guy that like is trying to help figure out the situation in a level-headed way. And yeah, as we all know, I drink a lot.
Mac will drink a crack shot glass.
I mean, Ollie,
God.
you can't help but love Ollie because he's never what you expect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But only in ways that do make sense and are realistic. He's not like quirky in a stupid Joss Whedon-y way. He's quirky in a way
I
that
take
you're
offense
like,
to that Joss Whedon shot.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
Leave Whedon out of this.
In my misery section, there's like the bit where Drayton is musing to himself. I always thought maybe Ollie is afraid of girls, which I think is a way to imply that he's gay.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
And there's some other little mentions like that too later on.
Because he also has a ring, which clearly if you wear a ring and you're a man, you're gay.
And there's also that weird part where he says, I saw him hardcore making out with Norton.
Love Ollie.
There
As
is
we all
also
know,
that.
70s King, it's always interesting.
I
to see
love,
the
once again,
outlook of
though, I
people.
love and King does this a lot in his stories, and I always appreciate it. He doesn't give people the triumphant way out if they're going to die. His death is just awful.
It happens.
It's so unforgiving.
They're out there, he's gone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's awful.
Does he get jumped by a spider or
No, it's
He
like
just
a
knows
huge-
that it has claws and it rips him in half.
Yeah.
with a scorpion-style body that drags itself away, which is really just horrific.
But that's so perfect. I love that. I love that whole last sequence. I can't wait to talk about that.
My favorite part about Ollie is that he builds the exposition of this novel because he's the one that's basically talking to David the most, and the two of them are breaking down the situation. Like you said, he's his right-hand man, but all of his dialogue seems to be positioned at being able to kind of wrestle with whatever is happening in any given situation, whether it's the monsters, whether it's Carmody, whether it's what they need to do at the store. And that's what makes him such a fun character, because he's trying to figure this out as much as we are. It's almost like we're more Ollie than we are David in this story.
A little bit. And you just reminded me of something that David almost does do wrong, but Ollie is the one who has to rein him in, which is the initial tentacle death. David is about to escalate the situation even further because he thinks it is so stupid what these idiots are doing, and it's true, they are being stupid. And Ollie says, you gotta hold off. Like, they're gonna do it, and you're just gonna fight them, and everyone's gonna be angry, and it's not gonna help. Yeah. So really, Ollie is also like a voice of reason for David.
Totally. And
Rest
I love
in peace, Ollie.
Yeah, it's really sad to see him go. He's probably the hardest death, I think, in this whole story for me.
I say it's unceremonious. Here it is. This is the first paragraph of the last chapter. He opened the driver's door, then the back door, then something came out of the mist and cut him nearly in half.
That's in my cemetery section.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
He also kills the villain.
Yeah.
Who's the villain?
Mrs. Carmody.
Mrs. Carmody.
Who is terrifyingly believable.
Yeah.
I believe.
I've known people like that in my life, and it's not outlandish. Like, I didn't think there was one moment where I was like, oh, that's unbelievable. Like, no, there's people like that are just so diehard and so nuts about, religion. It's scary.
And they'll feed on people's terrors and people looking for something.
Yeah, and if this is happening, if alien-ass monsters are real, of course, if you think like that already, you're going to be like, yeah, it's end of days. Like, 100%. Like, there's no way it's anything else.
Like you said, it's your outlook on life and how you try to make sense of it. And if you're a very religious person, you're going to think that. So in a sense, it's just sad because, you want to be like, yeah, well, if everyone did just kind of listen to her, sure. But then it starts to get into the whole, wrath of God, blood sacrifice stuff. And that's not good.
I like the slow build too, where it's, one person and then all of a sudden it's three people. And then it's, it's slow build.
It makes sense.
I mean, it's almost weird how King builds up Carmody herself almost as much as he does with the Mist. I mean, she's mentioned on the 10th page before they even get to the store. I mean, it's 20 pages away until they actually get to the store.
Well, not only is she mentioned, she's kind of mentioned as a prophet.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, this is how it's discussed on page 11 of the Scribner.
That's the big one with the Rorschach painting on front.
Yeah,
right?
I actually really like the design of this.
That's the same edition I'm reading too.
Yeah, so they're talking about the winter of 1888. Basically, it's a discussion between David and Steffi, and Steffi's worried because she brings up the winter, and Steffi seems to kind of follow along with Mrs. Carmody a little bit. It almost seems like Steffi probably would have pivoted over to Mrs. Carmody because she actually likes Mrs. Carmody's store. She's interested in all the kind of folklore that's of it, whereas David's kind of a little she's kind of fucking weird.
Well, I think that, I don't know about that, but go ahead.
Anyway, if this was a novel, Steph probably would have gone with them, and maybe something like that would have happened.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like because she's scaring the boy so much that I don't think she would be having any of that.
No,
what I mean?
But at the same time,
she might.
Well, that's the movie, I guess. We'll talk about it later.
I mean, here's the exchange with him. David, I'm scared. Come on, it's over. Is it? Last winter in the late spring, they called it a black spring in town. They said there hadn't been one in these parts since 1888. And then David writes in his little napkin stories.
Is this hashtag napkin stories?
Napkin tales. They undoubtedly meant Mrs. Carmody, who kept the Bridgeton Antiquary, a junk shop that Steph liked to rummage around in sometimes. Billy loved to go with her. In one of the shadowy, dusty back rooms, stuffed owls with gold-ringed eyes spread their wings forever as their feet endlessly grasped varnished logs. Stuffed raccoons stood in a trio around a stream, and that's in quotes, that was a long fragment of dusty mirror, and one moth-eaten wolf, which was foaming sawdust instead of saliva around his muzzle, snarled a creepy, eternal snarl. Mrs. Carmody claimed the wolf was shot by her father as it came to drink from Stevens Brook one September afternoon in 1901. So you get the sense that she's been there just as long as David. So you kind of have these two modes of thought that are based primarily in this town. So I just think it's interesting how he does slowly build her up.
Well, and I think, too, we are kind of is she a good witch or a bad witch at that point?
Yeah.
Because Steffi and Billy love to go there, and it's maybe she just has a taxidermy store, and it's kind of cool, and she knows all the folklore. She might be an asset.
I mean, there's literally a line.
Fixture of the town.
King literally says, she had found Steph's vulnerable spot, a mental Achilles heel. Steph was the only person in town fascinated by Mrs. Carmody's Gothic pronouncements and folk remedies, which were always prescribed in God's name. Because then you find out later, in one of the things that like Carmody would actually help with people's like erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, so it was one of those
The town
here,
witch.
drink 2 of these and you'll be fine in the morning.
Yeah,
that
so
kind of thing.
there's a lot of depth there, Carmody. I actually like that. You know, she's
But
not just
that's something I actually discovered on the reread. Because the first time around, you're not really looking out for these things necessarily. But the second time around,
Right.
there's a lot
That's
more.
like really weird because she's so evangelical.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird mix of like pagan and godly practices.
Yeah.
Very
And also
strange.
just probably lost her mind at a certain point too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, no joke.
yeah.
Or maybe she's perfectly sane. Who knows? Who's to say?
I mean, she's right.
Now, when she meets her end, is it a gunshot to the
sir.
head, or how it is
think it's to
goes
the
down
head.
in the movie?
I think it's
I think it's the
gunshot to
head. I think she just gets blown
Well,
away.
she feels her chest though. 'Cause
In the story, she does.
yeah, 'cause
I
at
thought
the
she just gets shot in the head and she's gone.
No, I think that's like she gets shot in the stomach because then when she's talking to them, all of a sudden there says there's a signal, like there's a call to signal or something like that, and then that's when he describes literally everyone's reaction, and then she like touches her like something, and like there's blood sprouting.
You remember
or
better than I
something.
do. I don't
Stomach.
know.
It was
It's
a stomach.
stomach,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I'm surprised he didn't give her like a final line.
They
That's
do.
the case. Oh, they do. What did
Yeah.
you say?
Ollie stood in the classic target shooter's position, Amanda's gun clasped in both hands. Mrs. Carmody still stood at the head of the checkout lane. Both of her liver-spotted hands were clasped over her stomach. Blood poured out between her fingers and splashed her yellow slacks. Her mouth opened and closed once, twice. She was trying to talk. At last she made it. "You will all die out there," she said, and then she pitched slowly forward.
This is the danger for me of reading a story and then watching a movie so close to recording, because I absolutely get things mixed up all the time. Because in the movie she doesn't say anything, and that's the word of warning out there, everybody. don't record a podcast and try to get the facts straight if you're watching the film right before you do the.
It's
the
hard.
book.
It's a little too fresh.
But
What-
she's a good villain.
She's a great villain.
Great villain.
Great villain.
And King talks about how he's a spiritual person. He does believe in God, but he
Yeah.
doesn't like organized religion very much. And a lot of his villainous women. Can you guys think of any men? Well, I guess the guy in Talisman is a preacher, and
Yeah.
he kind of sucks. But it
Ultimately,
sounds like he doesn't really believe in God because he's
Ultimately, revival too. There's some elements of that too.
Yeah.
There's some characters in the stand. You know, you get Trash Can Man.
Father
But
Callahan.
with Mrs. Carmody and Carrie's mom, I think he kind of just vents this frustration with crazy organized religious
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
zealots.
I that's a whole other podcast. We can go on.
Do you think Carmody and Mrs. White would get along?
Oh yeah.
You think so?
I feel like it would be like an evil
Probably.
thing situation where they would just like murder each other. like, they'd be like, no, I'm crazier than you.
I think
are.
no, I think they would get along until one of them was like, "Wait, I mean, actually, in Matthew, like God says this other like
That would be
weird
it.
thing," and they'd be like,
Yeah.
then they would kill each
no,
other.
No turning
They'd
back.
be sitting there like at a diner and just talking and
Pulls
having
a
like
gun out of her little purse.
yeah.
Bam.
Or Carrie comes over and kills them all, and then but who else we got?
We
Moving
got
on.
Amanda. Stay on the women
Who?
focus train. Amanda Dumfrey.
Who is
or
this?
Dumfries. It's a.
Who is this character?
She's a lady. She's a hot lady
She's hot.
in the supermarket.
Oh, boy.
yeah.
She's also an out of towner.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband gave her a gun because her husband is away from home a lot,
Okay.
And so she thought
as
that-
you do with your significant other.
and she was like, "I'm going to bring this to the grocery store with me."
Hey,
always
why
Hey,
carries
not?
it.
it was Carrie Conceal.
Not a
Yes,
lot with
character
her.
sucks.
You think she sucks?
In the story, I think she sucks.
Yeah, because even at the end, all
Underused.
she's doing is screaming.
What does she do in this story? Let's break it down.
She
She-
gives them
she-
the gun.
She supplies the gun.
She tries to be a
To
female Ollie. Like
Yeah.
she's a reasonable kind of lady. She's like a she's like a manic pixie dream supermarket wife. Like she says all the right things. She bangs David,
Do
and
we-
she knows they're gonna bang, and
doesn't
she's
even-
like, "We can't talk about it because I'm telepathic,
Do
and I know
we
you want
think
to bang."
that would have happened if she was another person from town?
No, because they have history then.
She doesn't even get mentioned until chapter 6, which is crazy. It's like she's around. She's not getting mentioned or referred to or anything until chapter 6.
I think that's more
No,
realistic.
she yells at Mrs. Carmody.
Does she earlier than
Yeah,
that?
she's one of the first people to be like, "Shut up, you old hag," or whatever.
But then you don't really meet her until later on though, chapter 6 though, and she's just there, and then she fucks David.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about that. It's an act of survival. They both thought that they're going to die. You know, it's kind of.
But
Whoa.
why don't we give her more to do before we're all of a sudden thrown into this? Hey,
I
let's go
agree.
fuck?
She
That's-
should do. She should definitely
Then
be doing
Stephen King
more.
would have to write a well-rounded woman who's not also an asshole.
Oh boy.
Well, Miss
Oh,
Rappler.
another podcast episode there too, I guess.
Rappler's great.
Yeah, Rappler is cool, but she's old, so.
So she has to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
I'm sure David would
she's
have
not
had sex with her, but
asexual.
she had to watch.
Yeah.
She had to watch Billy, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
Amanda watches Billy here and there too. She's got some tasks, but doesn't
I mean,
really
she,
do
like,
much.
looks
Character
at him every
sucks.
once in a while.
Nah, looks over Billy here and there, and she's like, we
Justin's
gotta
right.
take-
There's just not a lot there.
There's not a lot there. There's no depth with their character whatsoever.
And I think we'll get to the movie later on. Obviously, it's improved upon.
Do we want to talk about their sleeping together now? I mean,
think-
You talk about now.
I feel like with
I'll
the
save
only-
it
we
for
really-
the
can
mystery section.
quote it later.
Well, it's really the only pound cake, so we can just jump to pound cake now if you want.
No.
No, we
it's
can't
not
jump all
even.
the way
It's
there.
not even that pound cakey.
It's not.
Well,
I'm with.
Then-
So I think Mike
Sure,
and I
let's
on
talk
this
about
side
it.
of the room are the people who are going to kind of defend this scene. I didn't think I was going to because I remembered it happening and before I went back and reread, and I was like, oh yeah, that happens. Why does that happen?
Yeah.
But it totally makes sense. Like the whole time he's thinking about his wife. He's casting her as his wife. And in this situation where your adrenaline is this high and you're also crashing and you're just like, I mean, come on, you think you're going to die? Like,
Look, I'm all for fucking. Been doing that for a long time. I just don't buy that this character would have done it at this moment in time, adrenaline or not. And I've
Which
had some
character?
high
When you say
adrenaline.
this character, you're saying Amanda or David?
Well, David, and then again, if there had just been a little more of a rapport between
I
the two
agree.
of them, even earlier on, like, I'm David, I'm Amanda.
I
Even a
don't
little
agree
more.
because he has to project his wife onto her, and he can't do that if he knows a lot about her.
Okay, but what's your explanation then? Do you think she's got the same explanation? Do you think that she is trying to project?
Yes, I think
oh,
I think
totally.
they're
Husband
both
thing?
just trying to
don't know.
let off some steam, and they are not into each other. They're just physically attracted to
It's-
each
it's
other.
I know
out of
this
pure
is very
survival.
against my criticism type, where I'm usually like, oh, just let people have sex all the time. But for something about this particular instance, I just found it. I just didn't find it believable.
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence about it because I don't really, it didn't really bother me that it was that's in the book, but I didn't buy, like Justin, I didn't buy that it would that they would do that at that exact moment. Maybe later on in the story or if a little bit more time had gone by, I can see them doing it. They don't need to necessarily know each other. But I think what's weird and out of place for me is that it's this affair that he has, even if it's, he's imagining his wife, that he writes it down and records it.
Well, but the whole writing down recording thing isn't realistic.
That's just
to
a-
begin
that's
with.
just a-
Right, but I mean, like, of all the things to actually record and write, that you think that would be like the one thing you probably leave out. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously we know it's a story, but if it's supposed to be him recording this after the fact, like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know.
That's just a structural deal King's trying to do.
But to Mac's point, this is something that I always try to harp on. Is maybe it's because I would be scolded for this in short story workshops, where they'd be like, "Well, the narrative logic isn't there because you've already set the terms early on that this is going to be some sort of recollection, or it needs to add up in some way." It's the problem I have with like when you watch Dexter, and like Dexter's the narrator of the show,
And then you jump to
all
somebody
this-
else for like 5 minutes,
that has
and then we're back.
nothing.
Hi,
yeah,
Dexter.
For
Here's my
literally
story.
like 25 minutes of shows, and they're pivotal narrative moments, and they actually have to do it with a lot of things that are happening with his own narrative, and you're like, wait, you can't break the mold.
The
That
foamniscient narrator. That's
yeah,
what I call
right.
it.
I kind of take it back a little bit, though, because at this point when he is writing all these things, it is post finding out about his wife, right?
He's not worried
she
about his wife
dead.
finding
Like,
out.
she's gone. But seriously, but at that point, he probably has a connection with her and is trying to...
That's true.
Maybe even record that and remember that and build something maybe towards like a
She
future.
always respected it. I mean, when they were going past his house, she knew it was a somber time.
Yeah. So
She didn't jerk him
Mike,
off
to
in
your
the car
point, I
on the
feel
way
like
out, too. That's true. I'll give
creative
him
writing
credit.
instructors, when they can't find anything else to critique, they somehow pretend that everything written in first person is wrong, which is not true because so much good stuff is written in first person.
True. I just think that
I think Mike had a really tough time with his professors in college.
I hated
Sounds
my
like
I mean, that's a terrible
the
bit of
nightmare stories
critique.
tell me
Like,
about dismissing horror and structure. Like, who are these people?
Well, no, it was only in undergrad. Grad school, it was great, and it was surrounded by actual people that knew what they're doing.
Shout out to
but
DePaul University.
not shout out to FSU, where I went to undergrad.
so I'm going to Iowa for my MFA, and I'll be reporting back as to how accepted my bloody, gory napkin tales are.
Tales.
If you end up actually doing a dissertation of some sort,
I have to.
you have to do a
Well, I have-
dissertation.
the thesis is a collection of short stories or a novel. And
Okay,
I'm going to do
well,
a collection of short stories.
I need you to find a Howard Johnson and I need you to find one that's preferably abandoned. And I want you to
Like
write
most
the whole
Howard
thing.
Johnsons.
Yeah, like most they are.
Well,
actually.
you know what's great is that there was a Howard Johnson, there was a Hojo's here that we would frequent for lunch
yeah.
downtown
Yeah, and that closed.
until it closed. But never made the
guys
connection because I hadn't
Did
seen
you guys
the
ever
movie
do
or
any
read the
fiction
book.
writing, Justin and Mac?
Yeah, a lot.
Really?
In college, yeah. In college, I did a lot.
Yeah,
of
we should all
short story and
write
fiction classes,
something.
Yeah,
and then share
I-
it with each other.
I used to write a lot of stuff, but nothing. I'm a big starter, not finisher, though.
We should have a Frankenstein night. You know how like Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein because they all challenge each other
Yeah,
to write
I
the
think that'd
scariest
be
story they
great.
could.
Or be
Yeah.
like the club in
And then I will be Mary
Breathing
Shelley
Method.
and be
Yeah.
like super famous.
I smell a spin-off episode in
Anyway,
the works.
Amanda sucks. On to Miss Repler.
I like Miss Repler.
She, I mean, whatever. She's like a cool old lady. She's
Yeah.
also a cliche.
Here's the thing.
but I
I'm
dig
far
it.
more forgiving of a lot of these characters because it's a short story. I think, or a novella in this case. If this is a fully fleshed out novel and this is all we got from Miss Repler, or even Norton or Ollie, I think I would need more depth. But we're kind of in and out in 140 pages.
Yeah.
It's more about servicing the story and like who are these representatives of society essentially in this supermarket, as opposed to what's up with Miss Repler's career and what's up with the rest of her family, and I don't know.
My key question about Miss Repler.
Yeah.
Why in the pharmacy does she keep shouting where?
Yeah, I
Is
didn't
it
understand that
beware?
either.
Is it
I
like the
could
second
not-
half of beware?
I don't remember this part.
Yeah, she just keeps shouting, where? Maybe it is beware.
WARE?
Yes, yeah.
Is there like an apostrophe WARE?
Maybe it was a mistake.
Maybe she wants some housewares.
I think that might just be an
Oh,
expression.
she goes, yeah. Mrs. Repler had turned around. Where? She screamed in her rusty voice. Where behind you?
Yeah.
As
Maybe
I
she's
started
just
to turn
going
one
nuts.
of the web strands.
Maybe it's
floated
like
down.
a specific to Maine saying, or just like a kind of an old way of saying, "Watch out."
Well, let me break this down as much as I possibly hopefully can. Where's are also what her offer? If was she referring to something for him to grab, like a
No,
product
she's
or a
saying,
stock?
look out, there's a spider.
Oh, that's also the fourth definition. Spiders from the mist.
From the mist.
Watch out.
Well,
It's gotta mean beware. It must
Yeah,
be some
it's
local,
gotta be
Maine
old-fashioned.
expression or something like that. Yeah.
either way,
She's cool.
she was neat.
I mean, I think King is trying to be like, even if you're an old, washed up teacher, you can still be useful in the supermarket.
We got to beware of. Where is another is a shortened way of saying
It must
it's
be
a
an
Middle
old-
English, Old
All right,
English.
you
Yeah,
guys, let's
must be.
bring it on back.
There it is.
I'm going to make where happen.
Let's do it.
What situations would we actually need that for, though?
I mean, it's shorter than look out. It's one
Yeah.
syllable.
Yeah.
Hey,
Maybe when I'm riding my skateboard later,
got-
you could tell.
Someone would be like, what? And they wouldn't move if you shouted where if they were about to get hit by a car.
Where are the Ides of March? Let's bring it back.
What about some, quick supporting characters that we thought were interesting and pronounced enough to remember?
Myron and Jim Blow.
Yeah, they're kind of
Yeah.
dickhead characters.
But you need those so that cannon fodder in the store.
There's the army guys that hang themselves.
Creepy scene. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about that
Yeah.
one. There's the manager.
Who writes everyone's
Yeah,
name down.
Brown.
Yeah.
I kind of like.
Also-
by the way, I've met that person.
Yeah.
I think we all have.
But also, Dan Caffrey would be like, "Oh, I'll help you with your list."
oh, sorry for drinking.
Oh, hey, bud. No, seriously, you can put on my tab. It's all right.
Dan
He's-
Caffrey is one of the heroes.
And
by
do
the
we
way.
feel bad for the bag boy?
No.
You don't.
I do because I think he's
He's a kid.
He's a teenager. And he's trying to prove himself
At that
and
age,
He's getting egged on
boys-
by these two
Justin,
assholes.
this
you
guy
know?
probably skateboarded to the marketplace.
You know, I take it back. I'm happy he got murdered violently.
I mean, at 17, do you think you would have been like, "Yeah, I'll go unclog the generator pipe"?
I'd be too busy trying to.
Were you guys macho?
I would have been one of the people telling him to do. I would have been Myron
At 17.
at 17, like telling my friends, "Yeah, you do it."
I would have been in the store still. I'd probably be snacking on something. I wouldn't have
some
been
Captain
back there.
Crunch?
I wouldn't have been any of the people that volunteered to go back there. Although, I guess
Mike,
that
you really
means I'm
shook
not
me on
Ollie.
that skateboarder comment now. And I'm just thinking, and
Yeah, he probably showed up.
I'm like, yeah, go out there, go ahead, you go for it.
How do you
Hey, don't
live?
forget your skateboard. Or when he gets pulled away, with like kick the skateboard out after the physicals. Take that,
The
you
thing
fucking
goes, it
loser.
snaps in half.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, though, if any of us were in any sort of situation where it's like you're kind of trapped in a supermarket, there's some mist, like no one would be able to trust us because without seeing anything,
Yeah.
I would be like, "There's probably tentacles," and they'd be like, "What the fuck?"
You know, my outcome would have been, I would have asked those two Armory guys if they had one more noose.
Oh gosh.
I would
Well,
have.
other
I would have definitely, tried to get to the Bone Zone with Repler, but
Okay.
Your
She's
old
busy
teacher.
watching Billy. All right.
I think that's
Any other characters?
I mean, maybe Pterodactyl too. No, I don't know.
Full pterodactyl.
No, I mean, as far as characters go, I think that's about it in terms of memorable characters.
All right. Well, let's talk about some memorable, awful, miserable moments.
Yes.
I can't wait.
She died. She just slipped away.
Slipped away! Slipped away! She didn't just slip away! You did it! 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 You murdered my misery!
Annie!
well, as the title implies, misery. I would say not a lot in this book for me, and as I've already hinted at, I'm totally okay with the Bone Zone.
Yeah,
and
I'll just say it really is. I just have here David/Amanda sex. That's really it. That's really. That's
Why don't
really-
you read it? Read the
And it's
section.
not even. That's
That's what it says?
Section.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read that. No, it's really literally all I have written down. There's David Amanda sex.
The only thing I have
And
bookmarked.
but again, even that is enough for me to I wouldn't say if you gave me like a Twitter review, I wouldn't even mention the Amanda Davis sex scene. I just think that I don't need it to be in there. That's the only thing. I don't need it to be in there. Having it in there, if it wasn't in there, it wouldn't have affected it necessarily. If it is in there, it doesn't really affect my overall criticism or praise of the book. Does that make sense?
Do we think this is in there because maybe at some point King was just kind of getting turned on? And this is
I think, you know what? He originally submitted this to Playboy Problems. We need to have a sex scene.
Look,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's not to go back to the argument, but it starts because he's freaking out. He can't even keep his thoughts straight, and then
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, her boobs are great."
There's a lot of boob. There's a lot of
haven't
flesh
you
talk.
ever been in a situation where you're scared or whatever, and then you're like, "That person's really hot." It would
Yeah.
really be stress relieving if I
That's
could just
Yeah.
Every
I can
day
see
that I go on is like that, actually.
Okay.
Did
The
you have
terror
any?
leads to the sensuality.
My only misery is the Ollie bit where he says on the pudgy little finger of his left hand was a star sapphire ring. The February before he won some money in the state lottery, he bought the ring out of his winnings. I always had the idea that Ollie was a little afraid of girls. That's a 1-to-1 correlation.
I didn't even pick up on that.
I picked up on that. There's another illusion he makes kind of like that with another book. I can't remember now.
It's
Something around this time.
Eyes of the Dragon. It's Roland.
Eyes of the Dragon, King Roland. Yeah,
He
you're
makes
right.
the same. He's like he's afraid of women.
Pudgy fingers, I think, too.
Yeah.
And afraid of women. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's dumb. And I think there's a lot of again, good old boy gender essentialism in here. It's nothing specific that I can quote, but it's always hand Billy off to the woman, or her husband gave her a thing to protect herself. And I think someone at one point is if she looked like that, I'd give her a gun too, or something. It's gross.
I
Whatever.
think that's small town behavior, too, though.
Yeah, but that's also
It's not
king
good.
behavior.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's just. I think it's
Small
a
town
sad
70s.
representation of small town. Even now, probably, honestly. Sorry for all you Maine listeners out there from Brighton or Bridgeton, but I just that's.
I don't know if Bridgeton is a real place.
I wonder if it is. But it might be because they mentioned another city that's real in this within the story.
Yeah, I didn't really have too much misery, although I agree with what you were saying, and yeah, like you were saying, the sex stuff didn't really matter to me. I think if it was there, great. If it's not, it didn't. It wasn't something that really bothered me.
Nothing to
But,
need discuss any further. I'll put it that way.
I really ate this story up. I
Yeah.
really liked a lot of it, almost everything.
Did any of it scare you?
Well, Mel, that's a good question. Maybe we should go somewhere to find out.
I know just the grave.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
oh boy.
Here we are in the cemetery.
This is gonna be a long section because there is a lot of scary stuff in this story. I was legit scared through a lot of it.
Yeah.
Even stuff that had nothing to do with the creepy crawlers.
Well, started off on page 55 with the tentacle battle.
Tentacle battle.
The thing that actually kind of scared me the most in that sequence, other than just the tearing and the ripping of the body with the tentacles, is more the honesty of the reactions in that scene. David, at one point, says that he was laughing like so hysterically, but he didn't think anybody noticed that he was laughing because it's just like how do you wrap your brain around what's happening? And it's the first instance they see this thing happen. It's really just terrifying. I don't know what I would do in that section. Oh yeah, sure. A tentacle came over the far lip of the concrete loading platform and grabbed Norm around the calf. My mouth dropped wide open. Ollie made a very short glottal sound of surprise. Ugh. The tentacle tapered from a thickness of a foot, the size of a grass snake, at the point where it had wrapped itself around Norm's lower leg to a thickness of maybe 4 or 5 feet where it disappeared into the mist. It was slate gray on top, shading to a fleshy pink underneath, and there were rows of suckers on the underside. They were moving and writhing like hundreds of small puckering mouths. Ugh, terrifying.
And it's very slow. Like the guy is hanging onto the door. You think maybe they'll pull him back. Like he gets in and out.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to go, understandably. And the way they start eating him, things that come out of the mist have these weird supernatural powers where it's not a real tentacle that we've seen on an octopus. It's like these things have little mouths on them and they start chewing into his flesh.
And that's this creepy thing about all of these monsters is the way that they do get their victims. It always seems like once they've touched you, it's almost like you're done. Like you can't get this thing off. You know what I mean? Unless it's taken part of your body to get it off of you. It's not like an easy like bat it away kind of thing. They are built to destroy, which says a lot about where they're from. I can't wait to talk about that in the sequel movie that's going to come out, about where we find out where the creatures came from. And
Before the Mist.
Ridiculous.
As I mentioned before, there's a lot of stuff that's inside the story that's scary.
Like the Amanda and David scene?
No.
Well, that's scary. Yeah, the Amanda and David scene. That was a nice little refresher. Just as much as I loved the sex scenes between Lewis and Rachel in Pet Sematary. I was alone on my island.
I really did love that.
Love those sex scenes. I took photos of them on my phone. My scene happens, and we've already kind of alluded to this. It deals with some dead bodies that are hanging. Mm-hmm. And on page 106 of the Scribner. Scribner. Okay. I went with Ollie. He was headed for the storage area. As we passed the cooler, he grabbed a beer. Classic Ollie. Ollie, what is it? I want you to see it. He pushed through the double doors. They slipped shut behind us with a little backwash of air. It was cold. I didn't like this place, not after what happened to Norm. A part of my mind insisted on reminding me that there was still a small scrap of dead tentacle lying around someplace. Ugh. Ollie let the blouse drop from the lens of his light. He trained it overhead. At first, I had an idea that someone had hung a couple of mannequins from one of the heating pipes below the ceiling, that they had hung them on piano wire or something. A kid's Halloween trick. Then I noticed the feet, dangling about 7 inches off the cement floor. There were 2 piles of kicked-over cartons. I looked up at the faces, and a scream began to rise in my throat because they were not the faces of department store dummies. Both heads were cocked to the side as if appreciating some horribly funny joke, a joke that had made them laugh until they turned purple. Their shadows thrown long on the wall behind them. Their tongues, their protruding tongues. They were both wearing uniforms. They were the kids I had noticed earlier and had lost track of along the way. The army brats from the scream. I could hear it starting in my throat as a moan, rising like a police siren, and then Ollie gripped my arm just above the elbow. Don't scream, David. No one knows about this but you and me, and that's how I want to keep it.
Stephen King writes a gruesome hanging. Mm-hmm. There are many in his books. And I used to have nightmares about... There's a hanging in Salem's Lot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I used to have nightmares that man was in my closet.
Mm-hmm. Is that the thing that he sees?
Yeah,
that's still the scariest part of Salem's Lot for me, I feel. Just because he doesn't really detail exactly what it is. And then there's another story, goddamn, I want to forget it, that alludes to that sighting that's in another one of his stories. But it's something that I feel like something happened to King that was very similar to that. And that's like been an image that's shaken him.
It's just such a scary thing to come upon. And like it's one of the most gruesome ways to commit suicide that someone can find, I feel like.
Well, I think it's a lot of times if somebody's hanging, they're still kind of moving, even though it's not obviously.
And the way he describes it in his books are always way more awful than the movie will depict it. Like I've never seen a movie where a hanged person's face is purple and their tongue is sticking out.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of too. Yeah.
The scariest hanging I could think of in any movie, though, actually is a King property for me.
It's Sixth Sense for me.
That scene is pretty scary too. But for me, the dread and the isolation of that sequence from Pet Sematary with the maid is still one of the most frightening things for me. And it's such a random scene too.
He wrote that. It's not even from the book at all, right? That was an original sequence. Right?
Yeah. But the thing that's scary about this sequence is that this is when you actually start breaking down where they try to figure out what happened with Arrowhead. What I love about King is that he doesn't go forward with all the details. It's still just a lot of like hearsay. And, you know, Mac, you kind of pointed this out when we were watching the movie last night about how, like, you know, they use Sam Witwer's character to just say everything. And what I like about this story is that, you know, the devil is in the details for the most part. Like, you really kind of have to like weed it out and just kind of see what they're actually talking about. And this kind of recurring element of Arrowhead, and where they mention that there was that road that's in the other town that's outside of Bridgeton, and they keep alluding to it, and then this confirmation of just the bodies, of knowing that they knew something. We don't know it still because we are just going to hear the urban legends and the hearsay. There's something so terrifying about that, knowing, you know. So
Yeah.
I've got something. This is from earlier on, and it's not even like a nightmare description of anything. It's just, I love King's finality when it comes to certain things, and this is really early. This is the first chapter, I believe. He writes, this is when David and Norton and Billy are leaving. David writes, Steph was standing on the cement path which leads to the vegetable patch at the extreme west end of our property. She had a pair of clippers in one gloved hand and the wedding claw in the other. She had put on her floppy sun hat, and it cast a band of shadow over her face. I tapped the horn twice, lightly, and she raised the hand holding the clippers in answer. We pulled out. I haven't seen my wife since then. I love that.
So that foreshadowing works for you.
That works for me.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot in this book, even though there definitely could be.
Yeah. Well, just the chapter names a little bit.
He mentions a couple times, he uses Billy in the present tense, so you know that he survives. But again, you don't know. It's not enough to spoil anything, really. You know, it doesn't affect the stakes entirely.
Well, to get to the creepy crawlers, or back to the creepy crawlers, I had a little section when the bugs show up. This is on 109 of the Signet edition with a terrible cover, which is just a bunch of screaming skulls.
The screaming skull.
Right. This is after the bugs show up, and it's just a vivid description that makes the bugs sound really real for me. One of the bugs had come in through the hole, and it now perched on a lawn food bag, housefly wings buzzing. You could hear them. It sounded like a cheap department store electric fan, eyes bulging from their stalks. Its pink and noxiously plump body was aspirating rapidly.
Gross.
Can't you just... We had this discussion last night where I said, how big does a bug have to get before it starts to get less scary to you? And these are right in that terrible uncanny valley where, like, they're huge, but they're still scary.
I think my answer was I have to be able to punch it and have a good chance of hitting it.
Right.
Because if it's too small, I'm going to miss that punch. That's my fear.
That's terrifying.
Well, speaking of size, we've been talking a lot about the large monster. Does anybody want to read that section?
Oh, I had it, but if you got it, go for it.
Go for it. Who's your next?
Well, let me pull it up.
Scribner book edition.
Go 149.
Oh, boy. It was six-legged. I know that. Its skin was slatty gray that mottled to dark brown in places. Those brown patches reminded me absurdly of the liver spots on Miss Carmody's hands. Its skin was deeply wrinkled and grooved, and clinging to it were scores, hundreds of those pinkish bugs with the stalk eyes. I don't know how big it actually was, but it passed directly over us. One of its gray, wrinkled legs smashed down right beside my window, and Miss Repler said later she could not see the underside of its body, although she craned her neck up to look. She saw only two cyclopean legs, going up and up into the mist like living towers until they were lost to sight. For the moment it was over the Scout, I had an impression of something so big that it might have made a blue whale look the size of a trout. In other words, something so big that it defied the imagination. Then it was gone, sending a seismological series of thuds back. It left tracks in the cement of the interstate, tracks so deep I could not see the bottoms.
That's so creepy.
I love that.
That's so creepy. We had talked, there was a lot of discussion about like when we were going to actually off ourselves and let go.
Like if you were in the situation,
yeah.
Not just in general.
Yeah.
If you were in the supermarket.
No, if you're in their, if you're in their shoes, what is the point when you exit stage left? I feel like that sight has got to be like a pretty much, yep, that's a wrap.
That's going to do it. Maybe more like exit chamber stage left.
I would stay until something killed me.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, no.
I don't think I would have offed myself.
If I knew that I was going to have either a violent death or a quick death, I would opt for the quick death.
It could be a quick and violent death.
Well, but if I was out,
I don't want to know what's happening.
If I made it into the car and we were leaving, I probably wouldn't have done it. Had we run out of gas is a different scenario. So
I've got another.
Yeah.
It's almost a word processor of the god, but once again, this is a great description of the mist itself, as opposed to just the monsters that lay within or lie within. This is earlier on. This is the woman that leaves because her 2 children are at home. Okay, and David writes, "We watched her go, and no one said anything. We watched the fog overlay her and make her insubstantial, not a human being anymore, but a pencil ink sketch of a human being done on the world's whitest paper, and no one said anything. For a moment, it was like the letters of the Keep Right sign that had seemed to float on. Nothingness. Her arms and legs and pallid blonde hair were all gone, and only the misty remnants of her red summer dress remained, seeming to dance in white limbo. Then her dress was gone too, and no one said anything." I don't love that part.
Yes.
That's again earlier on, when we
Creepy.
don't know exactly what's out there, but it's not good.
Can I read Ollie's death in more completeness?
Yes, please.
you
I had
must.
that
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
It's gonna be hard, but go.
Sorry. Ollie moved fast, the pistol in his right hand. Before Billy and I were more than out the door, he was at my scout, an insubstantial Ollie like a ghost in a television movie. He opened the driver's door, then the back door, then something came out of the mist and cut him nearly in half. I never got a good look at it, and for that I think I'm grateful. It appeared to be red, the angry color of a cooked lobster. It had claws. It was making a low grunting sound, not much different from the sound we had heard after Norton and his little band of flat earthers went out. Ollie got off one shot, and then the thing's claws scissored forward, and Ollie's body seemed to unhinge in a terrible glut of blood. Amanda's gun fell out of his hand, struck the pavement, and discharged. I caught a nightmare glimpse of huge, black, lusterless eyes the size of giant handfuls of sea grapes, and then the thing lurched back into the mist with what remained of Ollie Weeks in its grip. A long, multi-segmented scorpion's body dragged harshly on the paving. Sea grapes.
I like on page 90, it's the rope.
Oh yeah.
Almost all of the rope abruptly ran out through my loosely closed fist, giving me a hotter burn this time, which already is like, ugh. Then it went completely slack, and a sound came out of the mist. A thick, loud grunt that made all the spit in my mouth dry up. It was like no sound I've ever heard, but the closest approximation might be a movie set in the African veld or a South American swamp. It was the sound of a big animal. It came again, low and tearing and savage. Once more, and then it subsided to a series of low mutterings. Then it was completely gone. "Close the door," Amanda Dumfries said in a trembling voice. "Please." "In a minute," I said, and began to yank the line back in. It came out of the mist and piled up around my feet in untidy loops and snarls. About 3 feet from the end, the new white clothesline went barn red. "Death!" Mrs. Carmody screamed. "Death to go out there. Now. Do you see?" The end of the clothesline was a chewed and frayed tangle of fiber and little puffs of cotton. The little puffs were dewed with minute drops of blood. "No one," contradicted Mrs. Carmody. Mike Hatlin let the door swing shut. And that's the end of that section.
This is, again, I love the power of not seeing, but still being terrified. You know?
Well, and that's, I have like a little tiny section on page 143 of the Scribner where they're getting in the car. This is Amanda screams, "What are you doing?" But I knew what I was doing. I like to think Ollie would have done exactly the same thing. I half stepped, half leaned out, and got the gun. Something came rapidly toward me, but I never saw it. I pulled back in and slammed the door shut. I just like the idea of like you're looking at the gun, you could hear something just like coming at you, but you shut the door. And I just think like what could it have been?
Because
it's so creepy.
We've seen a number of monsters at this point. I'm sorry, a number of animals. Let's be fair. But now we're forced to use our imaginations. What else could possibly be out there? You know,
He figures out that they hunt by sound, scent.
Yeah, he starts talking about scent. Except his breakdown at that point, or his deductive reasoning for that, starts getting a little crazy.
Well, he's like, it can't be sight because they're in the mist and you can't see shit. It can't be sound because they don't go after the car. Like they don't go after
the car as it's moving.
The generator or the supermarket, really.
Yeah. I think it is scent. I mean, you think about it.
In the car, and they can't smell
when they're inside the store. The only time that the pterodactyls comes because it's coming after the bugs. It has nothing to do with
it breaks
them being
through the
in
glass,
there.
and they can then smell. Yeah.
So it's like part of it's like, oh God, maybe they could have just been safer that they just hold up in that store and not, unfortunately it was glass front.
Yeah, you mentioned the holding back the details, and some of the most frightening stuff is what is going to play out in your imagination.
Yeah.
Like there's a discussion where they start talking about the sentries that they've assigned to look at the window. And the first night, they talk about how, the mist seemed to like kind of darken and then brighten up again, as if there were like figures looming around in there. And as we know in King's World, this is something I always harp on. And like, if it's hinted at,
It's happening.
it's happening. So
Yeah.
it's little things like that, and like the way he talks about the sound. I think at one point he refers to one of the noises as like a bull alligator, and just. I found myself actually like sitting in the living room trying to mimic these noises to figure out.
Let's hear them.
It was like the or like the.
Hold on, am I in the room with one of the mist creatures?
Well, it's so funny that.
Well, I hate the grunting one, how it's like grunting, but then it's like a series of lower mutterings.
Yeah,
It's
like-
blah, 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 blah.
Sounds like Kathleen Turner.
Oh God.
Yeah, we're just Kathleen Turner overdrive today. For me, the thing that's always funny about King's work is trying to figure out what those sounds are. Like, I still don't know what the dada chuck, dada chick is supposed to sound like.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's just like click.
I don't,
like-
I
it's
don't
like-
picture it
exactly how he
whispering.
says,
Well, I can't do it
Dada
without,
check.
without messing up the
Dada chuck,
pronunciation.
dada chick, dada down.
But no, even rapid.
like
Like almost like tick, 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 like that type of a.
But it has to be a question inflection.
yeah, which is weird.
Dada chick? Dada chum?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
creepy.
That'll be
cute.
our drawing of the 3 episode coming up
Yeah, I
in.
know.
Just gave him a chance.
Yeah, give him a chance. Oh boy, there's
He just does he does a great job setting up these moments where he doesn't have to get specific, because he knows as well as we do that our imagination is the most frightening thing. It's not lazy, because there are plenty of times where he goes into description, like intense description, and it's disgusting. But the moments where it's like that scene with the big monster at the end, where it's like it was beyond comprehension, and you think immediately, what is this thing? How big could this really be? And it's terrifying. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, that's stuff
It's
that I
all
didn't
scary.
record. The
The
spiders.
Spiders are scary.
The whole sequence in the pharmacy. I just have something. I don't have necessarily passages. I just have the events.
Yeah.
The spire tech of the pharmacy is awesome.
yes. Yeah.
What
The
they describe
acid,
it? Its eyes were reddish purple, like pomegranates. Gross.
It's a lot of
A lot of berries and everything.
a lot of fruit description for eyes. Eyes like sea grapes. Eyes like pomegranates.
I actually got really thirsty because
Stalks.
at Jamba Juice they used to have a flavor called pomegranate pick me up.
Oh, that's right.
Not
and,
pomegranate death spider eyes.
No, that didn't sell very well initially. Neither's there anymore.
Doesn't he say that the spiders have like racing stripes?
Yes. Black with yellow piping.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's one of the last things. It's like one of the spiders when he's in the car, the scout.
Let me just say, I'm not a big fan of spiders, so that scene really terrified me, and especially the webbing that was just kind of like acid ridden.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, would you
I like that
rather
nice
deal
touch.
with one of the spiders or some of the bugs that
No,
fly?
the bugs.
Give me
I'd
that
rather-
bug
yeah.
any day.
Oh my god,
I thought
really?
about
I would
this, but
rather deal
I-
with a spider.
Choking to death, it's tough. You know, I
Well,
would
you're
rather,
talking about the
I would
movie.
rather hang myself.
There's no
oh yeah, that's the
stinging
movie.
in
Once
the
again,
book.
that's the movie. That's right. God, what do I want?
I'm so much more scared of something that can fly at me, and the spiders can't fly.
because that's even more.
No, but the spiders, they leap out.
Yeah, they can.
Well, the
They're
bugs
running
can
around.
fly though.
Yeah, but you
But
have
I'm thinking more of the aftermath, like, and I mean, and I'm not sure if this is in the book or the movie, but the laying of the eggs.
No, that's in the
disgusting.
movie.
Oh God!
See,
Like,
yeah,
I don't
that's
think I
in the
could. I
movie.
don't. I wouldn't want that to happen. I'd rather just like die
talking
a
about
quick
book
death where
versions.
where my throat swells
It's hard
up.
to remember exactly what's in the book and what's in the movie.
Yeah.
It is hard because King lets it, to your imagination, and clearly Darabont ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
You want
Did
my
you have something
imagination?
else,
Here's my
Mike?
imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the earliest terrifying moments, and I don't, did we share this when David first hears the noise outside the doors?
No.
No.
Go ahead.
So this is on page 49. David writes, I stood up carefully, looking for a pencil line of light between the double doors. I found it, a faint but unmistakable scratch on the darkness. I started toward it and then stopped. There was a sound, a soft sliding sound. It stopped, then started again with a stealthy little bump. Everything inside me went loose. I regressed magically to 4 years of age. That sound wasn't coming from the market. It was coming from behind me, from outside, where the mist was. Something that was slipping and sliding and scraping over the cinder blocks, and maybe looking for a way in. Or maybe it was already in, and was looking for me. Maybe in a moment I would feel whatever was making that sound on my shoe. or on my neck. It came again. I was positive it was outside, but that didn't make it any better. I told my legs to go, and they refused the order. Then the quality of the noise changed. Something rasped across the darkness, and my heart leaped in my chest, and I lunged at that thin vertical line of light. I hit the door's straight arm and burst through into the market. King does a really good job with those types of moments. He did it in The Shining. And that sort of escalating tension is something that fuels this book. You know, you had mentioned, Justin, that it was hard to distinguish between like the cemetery and the word processor, the god. Like you just kept going back and forth.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so fitting that Darabont did this, because I feel like Darabont actually knows how to capture the beauty and the majesty of King's prose. Yeah. And a lot of the beauty and the majesty happens to be in his ways of being able to orchestrate the horror. Mm-hmm. And this book is such a great example of like why he's the horror master. Yeah. I mean, just even like that whole sequence with just the pandemonium that escalates once the marketplace goes to hell and the creatures start coming out, and he has like 40 characters he has to discuss, like basically, and he just magically is able to weave in through other, almost like a ballet. And I don't know. I think the scarier parts in this work because he's just such a sharp writer in that respect.
I think this is the Goldilocks scenario where this wouldn't work as a short story.
No,
this wouldn't work as 15, 20 pages. And I think Under the Dome is an example of this working as a novel. Like if you were to expand this into a novel, it would have to be something like Under the Dome. It couldn't just take place in a supermarket.
Sure.
I don't think.
Well, and I think
But it works
someone made
perfectly
a
as a
comparison too in a review that was like he did what Under the Dome did in like 1,000+ pages in like 100 pages here. And like this is the
I feel like
superior story.
it's all levels. This is like the minor level, and then the major level would be Under the Dome, and then the huge all-encompassing level would be The Stand.
King is so at home in the novella, and I just love it. Like, it's such an underappreciated form. But you can, with his really shorter stuff, you can just kind of feel him yearning to do a novella. Mm-hmm. And so when he does actually pull it off, you're like, this is the perfect length for this idea.
Yeah, it's a weird combination of restraint and
indulgence.
Restraint and indulgence, exactly.
Yeah, it is the Goldilocks situation for him, for sure. I can't think of an actual novella of his that I think is actually
He
subpar.
thinks that Apt Pupil is too long.
I agree with that, though. I think it's.
I really like that Pupil.
That's my least favorite of Different Seasons. But
did you read The Breathing Method?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know you read The Breathing Method.
Well, I went back and had to. Oh. So
I think The Breathing Method isn't as good. I think it's good, but I don't think it's as good as that Pupil.
I also think he sort of finds a cheat code here with the balance between revealing the monster and the sensory depictions where you don't see the monster that any good horror movie has, because there are an unlimited number of monsters for him to do this with.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to show us all of them, and he can choose to show us some of them that he wants to describe. And he sets up the situation well enough that you're not angry about this kind of workaround. You just want to see more monsters or hear more monsters. Or
what do you think is weaker, when he has the lesser than short stories, or he goes over the top with like these gluttonous novels?
For me, I think it's the gluttonous novels.
Yeah,
because
that's more investment on your part.
Investment. Like a short story, I'm reading like in 30 minutes. Like I can't. Like it's sometimes they come back like, oh man, I really wish they hadn't done the school ending, as opposed to The Running Man, where you're like, why is there 50 pages left? You know what I mean? It's a different type of frustration.
So let's get into word processor. If we're talking about his writing and how at home he is in this form, let's reference another story in this collection as we talk about the writing in The Mist.
And we're going to make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
I have something here that I call, it's like an early Stephen King tweet. This seems like a tweet, but I love it. I think we can all probably relate to this. It is, you know what talent is? The curse of expectation. And I'm not kidding. I struggle with that all the time. Not to pat myself on the back, but there's certain things that I feel like I always hold back in a lot of ways because I'm just, I have expectations for myself, and then I feel like other people have expectations on me. That it's a curse in a lot of ways. I love that, and it's just a little passage. That's one of those examples of him going off topic for a minute and talking about his life.
It's the what of expectation?
The curse of expectation.
Yeah. Which is funny because King does not suffer from that himself. Or if he does, he gets over it because he just produces and produces and produces.
But I think back then he might have, because he goes on to say, and this again, we were talking about this a little earlier about him going commercial, and he said, and since then, that voice of disappointed expectation, that cheated child's voice that can never be satisfied with such a mild superlative as good, has fallen pretty much silent. And except for a few rumbles, like the sounds of those unseen creatures somewhere out in the foggy night, good way to tie it in, Stephen, it has been pretty much silent ever since. Maybe you can tell me, why should the silencing of that childish, demanding voice seem so much like dying? Right? It's just,
but this is such an interesting, because if you read On Writing and if you listen to King talk about his process, it is very much just like, just get it out. You can't listen to the voice demanding that it be perfect, because done is always better than perfect. And I think he's just like the exemplar of that. Like he has to get this stuff out of him. And I, as someone who definitely suffers from, perfect is better than done.
Word vomiting.
I just don't. No, I don't suffer. I want to suffer from word vomiting. I'm so slow, and he's so prolific, and I want to be like that, where you just don't fear failure and you kind of put it out there. And that's what he did when he was young. He was collecting rejection slips at like age 17 and just sending them and sending them and sending them.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I mean, I don't want to go on a rant of my own here, but with the development of the internet, your failures are cataloged in a more permanent way. He could just send off a thing to Playboy and it's like, nobody can even read that anymore. You can't find that issue. So it's not online. But now it's like, if I look back at my older stories, I have to kind of be like, just let it go. Like, I know that you would have changed it. It could have been different, but like, this is still solid. Like, it's okay.
The expression, you can't escape your past has been around forever, but now you truly cannot escape your past. And that's just where we are now. Anyway, sorry, Mike, did you have something though?
Yeah, this is early on. This is when you really get to kind of feel for David's love for his family. Page 4, Scribner edition. One of those terrible visions came to me. I think they are reserved exclusively for husbands and fathers. Of the picture window blowing in with a low, hard coughing sound and sending jagged arrows of glass into my wife's bare stomach, into my boy's face and neck. The horrors of the Inquisition are nothing compared to the fates your mind can imagine for your loved ones.
And you can definitely, doesn't that happen to you when you're looking at something and you're like, if a disaster happened and this broke, this is what it would look like. It's just a recipe for people getting impaled. Yeah. I really like another description of the pterodactyls on 108.
I think that was in my cemetery section
too.
Like, again,
but this is like mixes, a vivid, like just the way he describes it. Again, it just brings it to life. And I guess I'm just not as scared as the pterodactyls. I thrust my torch at the thing. There was the sensation of striking something with no more real substance than a box kite. The next moment, the entire creature was blazing. It made a screeching sound and its wings spread. Its head jerked and its reddish eyes rolled with what I most sincerely hope was great agony. It took off with a sound like linen bedsheets flapping on a clothesline in a stiff spring breeze. It uttered that rusty shrieking sound again. Just how like fragile it actually is very interesting, and you just get a textural experience when you read that.
Yeah,
agreed.
I honestly, I had a couple, but they were like all read in the cemetery. The whole thing's great, but the only one that I had really was the one that Justin read already about the keep right sign when the woman goes out and just kind of disappears into the mist. It's just so creepy. Really well done. Anybody else have some more?
Yeah, I've got a couple things here. Yeah, it's not so much a passage as it is. I think it's a funny. I think it has to be deliberate structure. One of the first things Miss Carmody says is it's death to go out there, and it's written that she's standing by 25-pound sacks of fertilizer. So I wonder if there might be allusion to like some like the shit, like the pile of shit that she's going to be uttering later on. Is that a deliberate thing you think on his part? Because later on, the fertilizer is actually referred to as a pile of shit. So, or she's referred to as speaking a pile of shit later on. So I thought that might have been a deliberate choice by King to reference where she's standing when she starts to spout off.
Yeah,
maybe.
Or maybe she's talking about the people being, like they're the bags of fertilizer. They're going to be just turned around, and that's it.
We'll never know.
Yeah, I one of the things I couldn't really decide was whether it was word processor or cemetery was this really interesting digression of dread. It's really late into the story. It's on page 136, Scribner edition. This is something Hattie says. I would do anything, take any chances, just to see the sun again. Just to see the sun again. A little shiver coursed through me. She had put her finger on a spot that was very close to the center of my own fears, on the sense of almost foregone doom that had gripped me since I had seen Norm dragged out through the loading door. You could only see the sun through the mist as a little silver coin. It was like being on Venus. It wasn't so much the monstrous creatures that lurked in the mist. My shot with the pinch bar had shown me that they were no Lovecraftian horrors with immortal life, but only organic creatures with their own vulnerabilities. It was the mist itself that sapped the strength and robbed the will, just to see the sun again. She was right. That alone would be worth going through a lot of hell. I guess that would be something that would mentally just batter you.
It's like seasonal affective disorder all the time.
Well, we had to discuss this on the way to The Shining last night because it's very cold here in Chicago. And I stressed that I would love to live in Alaska and Antarctica to get away from the heat because I hate the heat. I'm from Miami, had enough of it. And we had discussed what would we handle 30 days of night or 30 days of sun. And I think you had said night.
I said 30 days of sun because there at least is the semblance of a sunset at a certain point. Whereas 30 days of night, it's pretty much just going to be dark.
Yeah.
I think
can't do it.
I think as humans,
I don't know
it's got to be sun.
Hey, speak for yourself. I like the night.
Hey, vampires seem to love it up there.
Hey, and maybe I'm a vampire.
And this, especially nowadays, I'm just pretty much exhausted with everybody on every side. So when I read things like this, there's David. I guess the last couple of pages, David he finds a radio signal and he thinks he hears a word. Right? He thinks he hears a word. One word. And so we don't know exactly what it is until the very end, and we still kind of don't know. He writes, "I'm going to bed now. First, I'm going to kiss my son and whisper 2 words in his ear. Against the dreams that may come, 2 words that sound a bit alike. One of them is Hartford. The other is hope." I don't know. I love that ending.
Hartford is the word he heard.
I think it is. Yeah, but I think the illusion of if it is somebody out there, then obviously hope lives. Hope springs eternal, much like the ending of the Shawshank. I'm sorry, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. I got to get that exact. No thes involved.
I like the idea of the ending. I literally think it's just the technical sound of the word Hartford. Like, I don't like the last line.
Really?
Hartford. Hope.
I disagree. I love it. I think it's obviously the movie's nothing like it, which is why I think that the book is great for what it is, and then the movie is great for what it is as well. I think this ending's always stuck with me.
How close did you write this to Shawshank?
Right after Stand.
Right. Yeah, because remember in different seasons, each one of those novellas was written after a major novel. I can't remember which one was which though, but
it
must be close.
It was
right?
like Cujo. I thought it was something really bleak.
Yeah,
like because he was harping on hope in Shawshank.
I think if it would have been cheesier for me though, if the city he thought he heard was something that literally rhymed with hope. That's true. H is if it was like the beautiful city of Jope, Illinois, or something like that. Some fictional made up city. It's like, or maybe Hope.
I just don't think Hartford is an appealing name. That's my only complaint.
Well, Hartford's also if it was like a beacon from California, it'd be like, hey, good luck, everybody. But if Connecticut is probably closer to Maine. Well, actually, I'm going to say a fact. Connecticut is closer to Maine than California.
Gerberlytics.
Should be noted that
Gerber geography.
No math necessary.
Should be noted that Hartford is considered the insurance capital of the world.
Oh, well, Billy's got a good future in insurance, I'm sure, because of all the damage that's been done by the mist.
Yeah, I love the final lines. I think they're very nice. What I did notice in this reread is that there are pieces of Darabont's ending that you can find, little fragments, shells, if you want to get punny with it, that are in the last few pages. You can actually see where he pieced together this harrowing ending for the movie. And we'll get to that in a bit. But
Well, let's put our typewriters away. They've been digging along for too long. And let's go to a really light helping of pound cake.
So. Mm-hmm. Despite being in the marketplace, we're only going to have just little nibbles.
Got to conserve it and ration it.
Yeah.
After all you've been taught, everyone isn't bad, Mama. Everything isn't a sin.
Come to your closet and pray. Ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mom.
Okay.
I have something early.
I have one.
Because again, we talked about the David and Amanda sex scene, didn't we? There's a sequence here that I laughed. It's very early on. David writes, Steph sighed and fanned the top of her breast with the edge of her halter. I doubted if it cooled her off much, but it improved the view a lot.
Oh boy.
Heyo.
Hot stuff coming
Hey,
from David.
loves his wife.
He loves his wife's halter top, whatever it is. So there you go. That's really the only thing I have. I mean, there's obviously some like leering going on, I guess, but I don't know.
This is right after the bag boy gets killed on 78 of the Signet edition. They had both had the stuffing knocked out of them. Neither, especially Myron the flower, was going to be good for anything for some time to come. Something that had been in their eyes when they were fixing to send Norm out to unplug the exhaust vent had gone now. Their peckers were no longer up. They no longer had raging erections at the thought of sending the bag boy out.
Bye-bye, boys.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I didn't have anything other than those 2 moments. I mean, it wasn't really like ridden with pound cake at all. You know, it was I had to search for that food.
There wasn't enough time.
Yeah.
Too much panic to pound.
I know.
There's the moment when Norton ogles his wife, too.
Yeah. There's some leering. I guess there's some leering.
Right,
I
but
guess,
it wasn't like, I didn't think it was like poorly written. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like any like really ludicrous
Well, and
things
even the
in
sex
here.
scene with Amanda is not like
No,
lurid.
it's
It's just
not.
like it happened.
Yeah. It wasn't like I looked at her jahoobies and
Yes, exactly.
like,
or nubbins or something like that. Yeah.
This is technically around that time.
Get ready for some Skeleton Crew pound cake. later
Can you
on.
spell jahoobies for me?
It'd be Jahoobies. Jahoobies.
Yes,
Thank
that
you.
is.
Can you say that as a noun?
Use it in a sense.
That's all I've got.
All right, let's put the pound cake away. We had a bite each and head into King's Dominion.
There's another world out there.
I know there is.
Well, there's obviously later on it's kind of established. I say kind of. It's not explicitly established that the mist is from the wastelands of the Dark Tower. That they're kind of crossing over from the wastelands. But the only thing I have here is the Freiburg Fair is mentioned, which is where the opening of the Dead Zone takes place.
Oh,
However,
wow.
there really is a Freiburg Fair.
Oh, it's like a real thing.
It's a real,
okay,
it's a
so
real
maybe it
thing. So
wasn't.
it's a loosey goosey connection I've got there.
I have a couple.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
go for it.
One, room 2 through 7, maybe, is that he calls his son Big Bill. That happens in it a lot.
Oh yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
it's right around the
there's-
corner.
This is, I guess, just a shared reference with the talisman, but on 47 of the Signet, he says, "Old trees have always reminded me of the Ents in Tolkien's wonderful Ring Saga, only Ents that have gone bad. Old trees want to hurt you. It doesn't matter if you're snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, or just taking a walk in the woods. Old trees want to hurt you, and I think they'd kill you if they could."
That is very talisman.
And this is like a good paragraph, so I'm just going to read the whole thing and you'll get the King's Dominion at the end.
Sure.
On 117 of the Signet, terror is the widening of perspective and perception. The horror was in knowing I was swimming down to a place most of us leave when we get out of diapers and into training pants. I could see it on Ollie's face, too. When rationality begins to break down, the circuits of the human brain can overload. Axons grow bright and feverish. Hallucinations turn real. The quicksilver puddle at the point where perspective makes parallel lines seem to intersect is really there. The dead walk and talk. A rose begins to sing.
Dark Tower.
And I have the worst heat wave broke. The entire western Maine region was lashed with thunderstorms. And what was the date? July 19th. So we open up and the storm hits on the 19th.
I like it.
Also, and this is a little room 237, I guess, but page 29, as they're pulling into the place, as they're pulling into the store, he says, "Then an idiot on a Yamaha roared past me, missing my front bumper by a few scant inches. He wore a denim jacket, mirror sunglasses, and no helmet, and I couldn't help but think maybe it was Flag just coming by." Like the
heralding
harbinger
the
of the
mist.
mist, you know. It reminds me of another little cameo in another property, but I don't want to go into that until we get to it.
All right.
Michael?
I guess you can make some of the parallels between the shop and what was going on with
The
Project
Arrowhead.
Arrowhead Project, yeah.
You know, there's the idea that because the shop does play around with like the science of splitting atoms and all that stuff. So who knows what they could be kind of splitting atoms of whatever ecosystems are there to kind of find the thinny or something, or maybe the thinny just appeared randomly or something. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of things online where people talk about there could be ties somehow. With
I
the
wish
shop.
they had done the Firestarter thing and just spent half of this story.
Oh yeah,
at Arrowhead Project, explaining like what's happening, what's going on.
You know, I kind of would love if
Heavy sarcasm.
You know, I like the mystery and not knowing and having it all in imagination. But I bet King could come up with a really great short story of like just the shit that went down like when the first thing happened. Just very anecdotal, not explaining everything.
Mac, when was the first Dark Tower written? We already did it, so it was like.
I'm not 100% sure, but I
He'd
don't
been writing
know.
it on and off since like college,
This,
though, I think so.
Oh, okay. So the Singing Rose. I mean,
that wasn't really referenced
Right.
until later on, though.
Right.
That wasn't until like the later books, though.
And
So-
I'm not even sure. I think 19 was only brought in later on.
Well, the Rose was not established until book 3, so that was
wow.
definitely after
He just
this.
like has that in his head for a really long time.
But was the revised version of the first Gunslinger book that the 19 stuff, right? Because he had to have it correlate with everything. Was 19 there from the get go?
I'm just talking about when he
That had been there
mentions
for the get-go,
the
for sure.
Singing
Okay.
Rose in here. I just wanted to know how
Yeah,
established
yeah,
it was.
no.
Not very is the answer. All right, that's King's Dominion. Unless anyone has anything else to add, any more connections?
That's it.
Let's move into our overall thoughts.
Dad, can we go now?
You ready?
Yeah, we've been ready for an hour.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You said that a half hour ago. Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
Who would like to kick us off? I'm gonna say Justin.
There's a director of Chicago theater here who really has a stick up his ass. And I think he thinks a lot of himself, and I don't think he's that good. This person likes to use the expression when he's talking about like the lighting on the stage. Instead of just saying, "Can you make that a little bit brighter?" he'll act like he's fucking Mike Nichols. You know, he'll say, "Hot and tight, hot and tight, hot and tight." Well, I found The Mist to be hot and tight. I think it's a very, once again, Mel, you talked about earlier, his novellas are, the batting average for his novellas are really good. And this is no exception. I think it's the perfect length for what goes on. I'm invested throughout. It flows extremely well, even with chapter breaks. The terror is there throughout. And even though a lot of times in horror I prefer the pessimistic, awful ending, I am 100% on board with this optimistic ending. And it's one of his better novellas, if not his best novella. It could be his best novella, but I'll have to do some more rereads later on of his future books. I will say I haven't read The Langoliers, but I'm assuming it's better than The Langoliers. I love it. I'm going to give it 4 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
I am going to give it 4.5 bright red Pennywise clown noses. I really love the story all the way through, and I think also reading it after seeing the film, I was like, oh. Like it was so nice to like get that ending, and I kind of love it because so much of the book is so dour. But you're dead spot on. I think that he's great when he's writing these shorter stories, these novellas. They're usually my favorite of his so far, and it's just horrifying. There's moments in this that I literally stopped reading and kind of looked away and just was thinking about what I just read, like some of the descriptions and just. And it's hot and tight, and that's how I like my King stories, and he hit it on the head.
Am I Chicago theater directors?
Yeah.
Mike?
Love the story. Informed a lot of my love for Stephen King stories. I think he's able to weld in all the Lovecraftian elements. And for me, Lovecraft has always been a love-hate relationship because I feel like he goes too long and he also gets a little too lofty.
And Lovecraft has hate.
And
So racist.
Yeah, he's very racist. He feels like the Noah Hawley of classic literature in the sense that he gets a little too wrapped up in his own aesthetic.
And Noah Hawley's a crazy racist.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean to associate it that way.
I'm kidding.
I'm just saying in the sense that like sometimes he gets away from narrative and just indulges in the sort of preciousness of things sometimes. And for me, what I love about this is that this is might be my favorite traditional style, like Lovecraftian story. This idea that these monstrous beings come from an area that we don't know. You know, it could be the Thinny, it could be something tied to the Dark Tower. I love that idea also. But the restraint that King puts in this narrative from, not explaining the source too much, just giving us enough, the breadcrumbs he leaves to all the monsters, just giving us enough, even when we actually see it at face value, is just phenomenal, and tied with some characters that are just so much fun to follow. That's why the movie is such a great rental, and it's such a great watch, because you really do feel like you're right there with them, and that you can kind of relate to an assortment of characters, because he follows the faculties of every character. I mean, everyone has their own sort of drive, their own sort of belief system, their own sort of structure, and like I love that. And do I think that some of the characters could have been given a little more depth, like Amanda? Yes, which is why I would not give this 5. Which I should, because I love this fucking story, and I can't really think of too many things that I criticize this. But for that reason that we pointed out and discussed, I think 4.5 is fair.
Right.
Wait, 4.5 what, Mike?
Bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Yeah.
No,
Shiny like sea grapes.
4.5 jack-o'-lanterns.
I'm going to give it 4.25. Bright red Pennywise clown
Let me
noses.
get my Gerber lyrics when we do the
Sorry.
calculations.
We got Ian Cohen of a Pitchfork over here.
Have little but admiration for this story. I feel like my struggle when I write anything that has a horror element is, how do I get people to take this seriously and still be scared? How do I moor it in reality enough so that people aren't thinking it's schlocky? Whereas Stephen King can pull off the gravitas that I'm going for with fucking tentacle monsters in a supermarket.
Yeah.
He makes you just think that, like, it is happening, because he can portray the different reactions and types of fear that crop up with people in this situation. He somehow just makes it work. Like, I don't know how I would go about even just like, oh, there's mist and there are monsters coming out of it. That sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. And he kind of just says, fuck it, I'm writing it. And it works. Just for the reasons we've outlined, I think some characters aren't that great, and some are rather cliched, and the protagonist is pretty perfect. That's the only reason for my downgrade. I think he's so at home in the novella. This is the perfect length. So I don't know where he'd fit in much more development. I think he could just kind of take away from the perfect qualities a little bit. So yeah, it's 4.25. There's something in the mist, and it's great.
So it's like an average of a 4 point. So we're gonna give this 4.313. Bright red Pennywise clown noses
strong.
for all you math heads out there.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Oh, absolutely. This is in terms of the overall grade, it's got to be one of the higher ones.
I also want to stress how like merciless this story is. There is a lot of hope at the end, which is why I think I actually think the hope is necessary, because the consequences from these monsters are so dire and so immediate. Like, I honestly can't think of anything maybe other than The Stand, just because the plague is pretty awful in The Stand. But really, like, I mean, out of all his stories, like, this might be like the most dour in terms of just the shit that happens. I mean, it's just so inescapable, the stuff, which is why I love that he kind of lays the setting for Darabont to kind of just, all right, I'm going to run with it and make it even fucking more dour and terrifying and miserable.
Who would thought it would be Frank Darabont to do it?
I know,
Yeah, who would've? Well, let's talk about some adaptations of The Mist.
Let's run out to the Scout and drive to the movie theaters.
Well, actually, we're going to take a detour along the way, but sure.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. You saw it on the television.
Pop quiz. What was the first ever adaptation of The Mist that wasn't, the book itself?
Wait, that wasn't
a lot of blank faces here.
Well, you said that wasn't
just
the
the first
book itself.
adaptation, like
Oh.
the next thing to come out
gotcha,
from The
sorry.
Mist that's not the novella itself. It's a 1985 text-based video game
Wow.
by Angelsoft. It's pretty much
Isn't that a toilet paper company?
It's pretty much the novel in text-based video game form. It introduces you to all the characters. You are stuck in the supermarket, and it'll say things like, oh, you're with Ollie Weeks, and he's at the cash register, and you have to type in things like, oh, I turn west, or I turn north, or I turn blah, blah, blah.
I would love to play this.
You can watch segments of it on YouTube. You can kind of get a feel for what it looks like. It's like a 5-minute video that I watched, and the person dies. He takes a bag of salt outside and thinks maybe this will hurt the bugs, but it doesn't. He dies.
Crazy.
Do you see the monsters at all?
No, it's all text.
Oh.
Was it created by Mutiny? with Cameron.
It was created by Angelsoft, and I don't think it was that big of a hit because nobody knows about it. I'm pretty sure you can download it for free online if you have interest in it.
Yeah, you can.
All I can think of is that
wild.
old Spider-Man game where it's like, do you there's sand there's sand in the crib. Do you put what do you do? And but there's always like pictures along with it. Yeah.
There's in the video too. He types like Ollie, relax, and it's like I'll try, David, but like this is a really sticky situation.
Another great punk band name, Ollie Relax.
Nice,
but check it out.
Never would have guessed
that was funny.
Never
that is really cool.
Yeah.
But obviously, the most well-known and well-regarded adaptation of The Mist was the 2007 film directed by Frank Darabont.
What's going on? It's death.
Frank Darabont had wanted to direct The Mist since the 80s when he first read it in that anthology where it first came out. It features Thomas Jane.
Love him.
Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast.
Can I say that?
Sure.
Marcia Gay Harden, Samuel Witwer, Toby Jones, Andre Brower. Who am I missing here?
A lot of Darabont regulars, pretty much, like the Jeffrey DeMunns of the world. And
Yeah.
You said Laurie Holden, right?
Laurie Holden, who will be a future Walking Dead actor. A lot of people actually are in the Walking Dead.
And The Majestic, they're also in that Darabont movie, The Majestic.
Yes.
Which I might be the only one on this podcast who likes that movie. So
You know what? I never finished The Majestic, and I have to go back and watch it again as an adult. So it's a fully grown adult.
Okay.
It's a modern Capper movie.
Just want to give a little shout out to Alexa Davalos, who is also in Man on the High Tower.
And Sam Witwer.
Or High Castle, excuse me.
Of course, Sam
Sam
Witwer.
Witwer, yeah. Good cast.
It was filmed in Shreveport, Louisiana.
That is crazy.
And that wasn't like something that Darabont just kind of threw out. He really incorporated, kind of like with Pet Sematary, there are a lot of extras in this movie that live in Shreveport. And he just kind of invited them to be in the film. And they say that the supermarket too has like, it has like Zappos chips, which is a Louisiana kind of staple. And all the houses that you see are in Shreveport. So he kind of was like, yeah, let's embrace this sort of thing.
But it still felt to me like it was in the Northeast. Good
It's
job,
on
Miss
that.
Crow, I guess.
It does have that like Eastern Lake House feel at the beginning for sure. I looked up a Time magazine interview where King talks about his collaborations with Frank Darabont. The interviewer asks, "Are you guys film soulmates? Does he just do Stephen King better than other people?" And King says, "He does it really well, though there are other people who have done my work and I've been pleased with the results. But the only person that I can say that has come back for seconds and has really done me proud, other than Frank, would be Rob Reiner, who did Stand By Me and then came back and did Misery. And Frank will say, I have the world's smallest specialty. I only do prison movies written by Stephen King. And he's been going on about how proud he is that he made The Mist and broke out of that mold. But I told him, Frank, it's still a story about people in prison. They're just in prison in a supermarket."
It's true.
That's great.
true. I think that Frank Darabont is being, because we talk about how nowadays the Andres Machetes of the world, we've got the first time that fans who grew up with Stephen King are writing and directing Stephen King movies. But really, Frank Darabont was the first fan to do this. And he did it at the beginning, really. Like again, 1980 did the Woman in the Room adaptation from Night Shift.
Yeah. But he wanted to do The Mist. He ended up doing Woman in the Room. Yeah.
And it's funny about, of course, the Woman in the Room has a subplot that's not in the story that takes place out of prison. I'm not kidding. So he can't even escape prison, even if it's not involved in the Stephen King story. But
that's so funny.
Yeah, Darabont is definitely overall like the go-to
and honestly,
writer.
And he's so good at remaining faithful to King's works, but being able to embellish it in ways that feel new. In this one, I feel like he certainly strays more than he does in, say, Shawshank or The Green Mile. But especially in terms of just where the narrative is going to go.
Yeah.
But even then, like, this is just revisiting this. I was shocked at how much it, like, shot for shot almost seems like. I mean, just even like the small things. Like you had mentioned last night when we were watching it, like Aisle 2. Which is the same. He literally is in the ending of the book. Also, like little things like that, just lines that are even that come off so well on screen. Like when Ollie's just like, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have to. And he's like, yeah, that's why I said, thanks.
Thank you.
And but that's the line from the book also.
Yeah.
Like
he's so smart in his selectivity.
Yeah.
And I feel like the changes he makes with this crazy confidence that you are just like along with the ride.
I mean,
and I think he gets away from like the Zack Snyder problem with Watchmen, or even to a lesser extent, in most of our opinions, Gerald's Game, the Flanagan adaptation, which is slavishly faithful. This is so faithful, but he doesn't forget the fact that this is a movie, and that we've got to pace it differently. We've got to we've got like the character that Alexa Davalos plays and Sam Witwer, like the military character and the clerk. They get the whole scene together. There's a great sequence with a lot like dark humor where we catch Miss Carmody talking to God. Yeah. And you discover that they're actually in a toilet stall, and then she wipes her face with the toilet paper.
Right.
It's just
and then she interacts with Amanda.
Exactly. Because obviously the book is all David Drayton's perspective.
Yes. And creature embellishments too.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Darabont worked. He asked Guillermo del Toro, "What studio did you work with for Pan's Labyrinth?" And because he wanted to use those people.
Wow, they do look very much like this.
And they went and created new spiders. Mm-hmm. The bugs, I think, don't actually even look like how Stephen King describes them. They're pretty cool and original.
Yeah.
Was Pan's Labyrinth came out before this?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It was 06, I think, right?
In fact, one of the paintings in his studio is tied to Pan's Labyrinth.
We'll get into what a cool decision this was, but when the movie came out, it was released in color, obviously. Yeah. But Darabont says he always imagined it in black and white, and he references the old movies of Ray Harryhausen and also Romero's Night of the Living Dead with that sort of vision. And when the movie was released on Blu-ray, there was a black and white version included in the special features. And when we watched it last night, we watched the black and white version, and it made a hell of a difference.
Yeah, I always liked the movie, and I'd only seen it once, and we mention it. I tell a story in the Thomas Jane episode that Mike and I did, which was a lot of fun, about my one time seeing it and how affected I was, and my family had gone to see Hairspray next door, and I had to wait for them to come out. Miserable time. And I was expecting this to be an interesting experiment. That maybe I'll get something else from this. And as much as I love the color version, this honestly is like a next level. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of the story is there. The story has always been there. But in terms of the filmmaking and the way the flashlights kind of bounce off the mist of empty pharmacies, the way people seem to evaporate into the mist because it's just that stark black and white. And also, even in the book, the creatures are kind of described as almost cheesy 50s horror tropes. So I'm much more forgiving of the special effects in the color version. But my God, the creatures work so much better in black and white.
Absolutely.
They kind of just bleed into the scenes, sometimes literally. And I could go... I almost feel like we're doing the movie a disservice because I feel like we do a whole episode on the movie. Maybe in the future we will have to do that.
We should.
But I was Mike. So I was blown away. I want to take control of the mic. But go ahead.
No. I mean, I agree. This is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. This is why. I mean, when we did that list on the site, when originally it was just a tenor, and we only had 10 movies on there. Now we have the whole array of wins and losses. This is one that I was really fighting for to be in like the top 5 even. Mm-hmm. I just think that this is so quintessential Stephen King. I actually think that this is my favorite of Darabont's adaptations, even over Shawshank. Wow. I just think because to capture the horror of Stephen King, but then also what makes Stephen King such a prolific writer with regards to character and tone and pacing and that sort of presence that stays with you long after you've read the book. I think he just captures it in spades. I mean, it's just like literally every fucking part and facet of Stephen King is so intrinsically tied to this movie, even down to like the dialogue and the way that it comes off as being informative and yet also natural. The casting of Thomas Jane, who is, in my eyes, we've joked around this from day one, always going to see him as the quintessential Stephen King protagonist. And like the fact that he got to play Drayton, who is very Stu Redman-like. We talked about Jane a lot on the Stand episodes. It's just a perfect marriage.
Talk about like a 180 marriage he does for 1922.
I know.
Jane. That's the other incredible thing. But I have a question for Mac actually, because Mac, you're the one who had read the book for the first time more recently than any of us, and you also saw the color version more recently than any of us. So, what was your take on this compared to the color experience?
It's funny because having watched the film first and then reading the story, there were moments that I missed from the mist. There's moment, but like there were sequences in the film that were the embellishments that I realized weren't in the book, and I was waiting for the sacrifice of the Witwer character. I was waiting for certain moments, and I realized that they weren't in it, and so that was fun for me because then I really realized what Frank Darabont brought to it because I was coming from that story. I watched the color version. I could have watched the black and white, but I watched color the first time. And I agree with you. I think the black and white version is just so much better. It just, you're not so fixated on the CG wonkiness of it. You can still tell it's there, but it's not as present because it's just washed out. And at one point I thought, well, you can't really get the feel of the mist because it's so white. But then I just realized it's so perfect like that. Like when we were saying, like you can actually see kind of the shades of the dark or the things moving in the mist much better than it's more creepy, I think, when it's black and white versus when you just kind of see it in color. I actually absolutely love the film. And it, like Justin said, it definitely takes it up a notch for me, the black and white version for sure.
Even I feel like the blood somehow looks more gross.
It's just dark.
Yeah, just the contrast. Like the gore affects me more in the black and white version. Maybe it's also because you don't expect to see that much gore in a classical black and white film. So when it does happen, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. But
it was just such a cool experience. And I forgot how much I really loved the movie. Should we talk about the elephant in the room / at the end?
I have a couple things about this too. Okay, so here's the thing. If you even take King out of the equation, you look at Frank Darabont, the filmmaker, who has made, I mean, The Green Mile is not like the happiest ending of all time, obviously, but it's not this. And I find it funny that the last word in both The Mist and The Shawshank Redemption, the novellas, is hope. And he doubles down for Shawshank. I mean, it's a very hopeful, like, dramatic, sweeping, epic tale. You know, there's music throughout, right? And you come to The Mist, and you, even as somebody who read the book, and even if you hadn't read the book, I still feel like you're expecting somewhat of a not such a downtrodden ending. That's to say the very least. So when Darabont is the one that pulls off this ending, that for me as a film buff, as a fan of Darabont's work with King, is that much more shocking to me. Like I almost thought, while you're watching it happen, you kind of escape your body for a moment. At least I did in the theater. I was thinking, are they going to say this is a dream sequence or something? Like, or maybe he didn't actually shoot them; he just fired off the gun. It's not until it cuts to black where I'm like, oh my God, he actually did this.
Yeah, so I had a very similar situation that happened. Caffrey and I saw this the night it was released. At the end, Caffrey and I just sat there until the end of the credits, and we were just like, oh my God. Because he is, I mean, as we know from this podcast, he's a Stephen King buff. And I had only heard the radio drama at this point. So I knew what the ending was like, but I just totally forgot that it wasn't, it's not that. I knew it was not that. And not a lot of people moved from their seats after that either. I think it really is the ballsiest ending to hit theaters since Alien 3.
But okay, I agree. It's definitely ballsy and it definitely affects you. Do we like the ending?
I do. And I think, especially when we were watching Black and White, Mel, you mentioned this, I believe it was you that mentioned this, about it almost seemed like a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, yeah.
And the episode that kept coming back to me was an episode called I Shot an Arrow into the Sky.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about these astronauts that crash land on what they believe to be another planet, and they can't get in contact with anybody, and all hope is lost. And so they kind of start to lose it, but this one guy really loses it, and one by one starts to kill off his fellow astronauts
for their water,
just for their water. And then, somebody comes back and he draws some markings in the sand. He doesn't know what they mean, so he walks on for a couple more miles, and he sees telephone poles, and he realizes it actually just crashed on Earth.
They crashed into the desert.
And so much of that, and it's just this, and he loses his mind. He's like, he calls back to them, but he realizes, he's killed him, and now it's over. His life is over. And so much of that informs, I think, the ending of this movie, where if he had just waited an extra 2 minutes, then everything, they would have been saved and everything would have been fine. But it's and again, going back to the Twilight Zone episode, it's the lack of knowledge and it's the lack of belief that really sells this ending for me. And I think it's just crazy. I love it.
Well,
it's such a... Go ahead.
Well, to your point about, like, it's interesting because this movie still is all about hope and about why hope is important. He just goes about it in a different way. The ending of Shawshank, he has the stress of, like, I hope. So you're watching a character who literally still holds on to hope. This one, it almost works in the same way of a shame play, which is, I had expressed my disdain of being able to see, her name's Melissa
Oh, the mother from the beginning.
The mother from the beginning,
Yeah.
Melissa McBride. You see Melissa McBride, this mother who had been trying to get to her kids, and she held on to the hope that she's going to get to her kids, and she leaves the store and finds them. And then you see her on the truck at the end with her children, looking down at Thomas Jane, who, David Drayton, who didn't actually go out to help her. And there seems to be this sort of like shame play aesthetic going on, just being like, see, I held on to my hope and you didn't. Now you've killed your whole family and you've lost, you've taken the gun, you've committed to violence. There's this sort of like despair and loss there. And also just like, you should have held on, you shouldn't have given up. And I feel like that's I feel a lot of it's very emblematic of like a post 9/11 society also. And also where we are, we're in like 2007, 2006, or where this is. Think about like what happened with like Katrina. I mean, I think I've read in Wikipedia how like Laurie Holden actually discussed about how the whole situation at the supermarket is very similar to what happened at the Superdome with like
and they filmed in
New Orleans,
Louisiana, too.
which makes sense. Yeah. So I think by the end of the movie, the idea of trying to promote hope is still there. There's still that Darabont quality of like, hope should prevail at all times. It's just such a fucked up like, oh yeah, no, you followed along with this guy for this whole time,
hope,
and no,
hope over mercy, hope over like love for your son.
Yeah. Well, that's where I get very like, it's just that one shot of Melissa McBride at the end, where you kind of see them and you're just like, there is a statement that he's making with that.
I think it's just nihilist. Like,
but it is. Why would they show her?
I think it's.
Well, why would Ollie die? Like he had hope.
Yeah, okay,
I
but
think
then
for
you
me,
also
as a watcher, I had totally forgotten about that character. I assumed
exactly
like,
that's
like,
the point, though.
But that's the point. I don't think there's any. I would have probably done the same thing that David Drayton did.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I get it. Yeah, no, I think a lot of us would. But I think there is a statement that Darabont is making by showing her character at the end where she is saved.
I think it's just more
not.
of a creepy, like, oh my god, I can't look. Had they only, I understand what you're saying. I don't think it's such a condemnation like you're pointing it out to be, though.
I think it is when he's on his knees and she's looking down at him.
It's brutal.
Yes, I think that's literally a commentary that he's trying to be making there. I think that's the thing that he's trying to hammer on before the thing ends the credits. Even like the swell of the gladiator music that you pointed out at the end. Sure. It's very, it's got this, it seems like he's just basically like, see, like, look what happened, like it seems very shame play to me for it.
You're saying it's shame play.
Yes,
because he's really doubling down on you really think that the ending is effective because you think he's shaming.
I'm not saying it's effective, and I'm not saying this is a
shame
criticism.
play to me is like somebody that's like pointing and saying, fuck you for thinking this, feeling this way.
Yeah. Which is what he's doing to David Drayton.
I think that we were all in the same boat as David Drayton.
I think you are, and I think that the point of the movie is to show that you should not lose hope at all costs. And which is what the mother didn't. She literally went out into the storm during the thick of it in the beginning and said, no, fuck you to your pessimism and cynicism. I'm going to go out there on my own and do it.
Yeah, but I think
and
shame
she prevailed.
playing, if you define it as
that's
shame
what it
play,
is.
But I think
that's a real harsh way of looking at it.
Okay, but that's essentially what the ending of this movie is doing. It's the same type of ending where you're like, see, look at that. Like she made it, you didn't.
I didn't see it like that either. But like that's the same thing with like, well, Norton went out there too, and he probably got
but he
killed,
also refused to see reality. The mom believed that there was stuff in the mist.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like when you look at it with Shawshank especially, and like when you're talking about Darabont making movies about hope, I guess I was just so jarred because it is so tonally a departure from everything that came before. Yeah. It almost like to me it just reads as nihilist, like there's no meaning. There's just...
That's right. That's more the reading I got from it. But I actually liked the nihilism. That's what I liked about it.
But it's weird
you could take
because
it that way also, but you still... There's still reasoning for why he has the appearance of that character at the end. It can't just be like coincidence, and that's just never the case, especially when it's literally the final moments of the film. That's like one of the last shots of the film is her.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's about isolation, right? Like... You have to find your people and keep reaching out and work together.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And like everyone that comes at the end is like this army parade and they're flame throwing the bugs. And it's like she went out and found all the help instead of isolating herself like Mrs. Carmody and her group of idiots. And
well, I look at that and I think even 100 times out of 100, I still would have stayed in the supermarket.
If you had your
like,
kid
really?
there,
his kid was no way I would have said, especially after he comes out of the mist.
When Mr. Carmody is calling for a blood sacrifice,
no, I'm saying earlier on, before she leaves, I would have said, do not go out there. 100 times out of 100,
I agree.
I would not have left with her.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think there's any shame in them saying, I don't want to go out there. Because everything presented before them was telling them, do not go out into the mist.
Well, he's not saying there's shame. There's no shame in not. He's not saying that. All he's saying is that they should have held on longer in the car.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I said too.
I think
it's like a very Twilight Zone ending of like, oh god, if they just held on. It wasn't like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to explain it. I'm running in circles at this
Anyway,
point.
King has gone on and said that he wished he would have thought of the ending.
He likes the ending. He says,
which is funny because the pieces of his ending are in his story.
Yeah, what were you talking about? You mentioned that.
So now, if you look at the ending on page 140,
wait, let me read Steven's thoughts on the
Okay,
movie,
yeah, go for it.
on the ending with an interview with Yahoo Movies. Great
My favorite
publication.
site, Mike's favorite site, isn't it? YahooMovies.org.
Yeah, Yahoo.
Frank.
Hey, there's a tie to Andre Brower with Yahoo Frequency. And,
a great film.
And wants to invest in a company, and they say Yahoo. So
we're past spoiler territory for Frequency, by the way. We're past.
When Frank said that he wanted to do the ending that he was going to do, I was totally down with that. I thought that was terrific, and it was so anti-Hollywood, anti-everything, really. It was nihilistic. I liked that. So I said, you go ahead and do it. The critics and fans both kind of excoriated him for that. And now when you read retrospective pieces about The Mist, people are like, wow, that's one of the great ones. They like it. They just had to get used to it.
I buy that too. I think we all go into these passion projects, right, of something that we feel such ownership over, and we need to see it presented in a way that will live up to what we were expecting a lot of the time. And for me, honestly, it's kind of like the Twin Peaks ending, which I'm still grappling with a year later. No spoilers. But I'm sure in the future, I will probably look back and say, that's not what I wanted, but you want to talk about ballsy ending, there you go. But I'm still not there yet, but I know I will eventually be there. But that's where I stand with that. So
you'll get there.
I was also surprised that, like, I didn't realize the mist was, like, handled at the end either. Whereas when you see the mist literally dissipate and it's just like the army rolling through, and I don't know what they're like kind of say with that either, where you're just like, okay, well here's these guys that did this and ripped the hole in this thingy.
True,
and
when
now
the tank comes
they're
out
the
of the
ones
mist,
saving
it looks like a monster for a really long time. Until you can discern the fact that it's a tank.
Hey, who's to say it isn't a monster?
Exactly.
Aren't men and women the monsters at the end of the day?
I think the government's monsters.
Well, before we go into Mike's
why?
thing, I just wanted to say what I thought about the ending. I liked it.
Well, Mike, you're certainly right that it's a deliberate and interesting choice to include that mother on that truck.
Yeah. But what was your time, Mike?
Well, like little pieces here and there. One on 144, David's looking at the gun. He's like, I checked the gun and then put it in the glove compartment. Ollie had reloaded it after the expedition of the drugstore. The rest of the shells had disappeared with him, but that was all right. He had fired at Mrs. Carmody. He had fired once at the clawed thing, and then the gun had discharged once when it hit the ground. There are 4 of us in the Scout, but if push came right down to shove, I'd find some other way out for myself.
And Darabont read that and was like,
he must have taken it.
And now here's the even crazier part.
Yeah.
On page 150. That is what happened, or nearly all. There is one final thing I'll get to in a moment, but you mustn't expect some neat conclusion. There is no, and they escaped from the mist and into the good sunshine of a new day, or when we awoke, the National Guard had finally arrived. So I'm telling you, the two pieces are like literally right there.
That's creepy.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he just saw that and was like,
totally,
put them all
He
together.
takes all that stuff to like the next step, essentially,
Which is what he does throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff with the neck, the woman
spider
from,
eggs.
still
Spider
one of
eggs, awesome.
The eggs, like it's just
the crab thing grabbing Whitwer outside of the like that was just kind of a new thing to see, but it was fun and very scary.
I wanted to comment too on the score and how there would be long sections of this movie with no score. There would be a lot of action sequences with no score, and I just felt how impactful that was. And I don't know. I know the movie's only 11 years old, Mel. You said 2007.
2007.
Right? I don't know if that's flying now.
No.
I think that that movie would be just buried in soundtrack and buried in
jump
music.
scare music,
buried in jump scare music.
Yeah.
Or like disaster piece, like
yeah, exactly. I love disaster piece, but no, it's true that it wouldn't fit in here. You know what I mean? But I feel like it would have been. And there was just a lot of. I talked about this on some other podcast I did, but there were a lot of sequences of people over the age of 40 having conversations.
Yeah.
And again, you're just not seeing that in modern day mainstream horror movies.
Who'd play Drayton right now?
It would be
like Tom Hardy.
I think Timothy Olyphant would be no, not Timothy Olyphant. Timothy Chalamet would be David Drayton. Probably like,
God.
he's a new father.
I just got to get to my car and listen to psychedelic first.
Laurie Holden would be like Denise Richards back in the day or something.
Denise Richards.
Roger Ebert did not like this movie. He called it a competently made things pouncing on people movie.
He gave Escape from LA 3.5 out of the 4. So we'll go ahead.
Did he really?
Sure did.
If we're done talking about that, do we want to talk about the television series?
Well, we have to rate the movie.
Let's rate the movie first.
Oh,
I have a quick out for the series.
We should also talk briefly about the audio version that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, that Mike listened to.
Okay, movie. I'm going to give it 4.
For what?
Bright Red Pennywise Clown Noses.
I had given it, for the last 11 years, I had given it 4 Bright Red Pennywise Clown Noses, but this honestly has been bumped up to it's a 4.5. 4.5 bright red Pennywise Clown Noses, and the only reason I can't give it the 5 is because I still hold the holy triumvirate of Carrie, Shawshank, and The Shining on another level for me. I still think that those are better ultimately, but I was truly I'm sure I was annoying people last night, but the whole movie I kept saying like.
Black
this is
white.
just next level. I can't believe how much better this is.
Every time Billy was on screen, you'd said,
this
kid's
good. Really good. The kid, by the way, shout to that kid. His reactions were incredible throughout that entire movie.
This kid's good.
I feel like in the future we'll have to have some people involved, more people involved in the movie, hopefully on and talk about this more, because I just really, really impressed with how well it's held up and how well it's aged over the last decade. And the fact that this is the last film that Frank Darabont has directed is unbelievable. But Eli Roth has directed about 6 movies since then. And Rob Zombie's directed about 5 movies since then. This makes me sick to my stomach. Anyway,
maybe done isn't better than perfect.
And also, maybe looking back, what a way to go out if that's his last movie for some sick reason. But anyway, sorry, Mac.
Yeah. I give it 4 bright red or bright white and black Pennywise Clown Noses. Yeah, I really liked it a lot, and I think I thought the movie was good when I first saw it, but the black and white version definitely knocked it up a notch for me. It's just a solid adaptation, and good luck making another version of The Mist that works on these levels.
For me, color version 4.5, black and white version 5. 5 noser. This is like I said.
I'm not going to dispute you on that, man.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite Stephen King films. This is my favorite Darabont film, and I love Shawshank. I mean, I love that movie. It's one of my favorite rewatchable films. But this film, there's something special about it, and I also credit Thomas Jane for like taking at least like 2 of those noses for me, because I just love watching Jane in this. This is I had always loved Thomas Jane, but this is the movie that really sent that love into like just obsession. As you could hear, as Justin already mentioned, our interview episode with him, like from back in 1922.
The year of 1922.
Yeah, the year of 1922.
It feels like it. This
back when we were recording on the phonograph. But I cannot stress how much I love this film. It's so terrifying, and it's so merciless, and it's such an anomaly. I toss that word around things I truly love, because, and it's the same thing that happened with me recently with Solo. It's just like I didn't expect this to be as good, and this film still surprises me every time. Every time I rewatch it, I catch something different. And the black and white thing, just like you were saying, Justin, it felt like an art film at that point to me. I mean, those sequences in the pharmacy with the flashlight, it's just so gorgeous and captures that sort of 50s aesthetic that Darabont really did try to literally capture with like the majestic that he absolutely nails here. And those scenes and sequences in the marketplace are so timeless and just terrifying. And there's just such a love for Stephen King that's just invested in this movie. You know, you could see like the little nods, you know, you mentioned like the Castle Rock Times are there. Cool. At one point, like somebody tackles into like a bookshelf and all his like Stephen King paperbacks
Mel's edition of Skeleton Crew falls out, right?
Yeah, it's which is hilarious. And I love it. So very excited to have this as part of the Stephen King Film Festival coming up that we're doing, and which actually I didn't even realize really even fits more into the Castle Rock narrative, because the film actually
is set in Castle Rock,
which is great. Yeah. So
perfect.
Yeah,
I hope we can get that black and white.
Big old 5 noser. We're trying to. We got a custom print that we're circling around right now. But God, it would be amazing to see this in the big screen
on black and white too.
Yeah,
it's a fave.
So we all like the movie and the story.
Yeah.
Sounds like cool.
Well, okay. There was an audiobook made in 1986 where William Sadler, who plays one of the Carmody disciples in the movie, plays the voice of Drayton.
So I guess it was Sadler. Yeah, it's great. I mean,
it's in the audio drama?
Yeah, that's the audio drama, because it was from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
100% buy him, A.D. Sadler doing this.
Yeah,
It's funny because once
yeah.
again, the only time I can think of where he's an out and out villain is he is the absolute villain of Die Hard 2. But everything else, he totally battled against type.
You know,
which is
isn't he a
incredible.
bad guy in Machete too?
You know, I take it back. Except for Machete 2, William Sadler has always been.
So I really want to listen to it. That sounds cool.
Love him as the Reaper in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
He's actually one of the reasons why I prefer Bogus Journey to.
You know, I haven't seen Bogus Journey in a while, but I do remember being. I feel like when I saw that, I was so young. I need to see that as an adult now. I think it's gonna land more.
Yeah.
But no, I love William Sadler. Who else is in that cast? Does it say?
For Bogus Journey?
No.
The
Alice
audio,
Winter.
the 1986 audio.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say.
I was looking for it too, but god damn, I can't find it.
It's interesting that it was called The Mist in 3D Sound. It was produced in 80. Well, the book here says 87, but it was 86. As Max said, it was Dennis Etchison did write the script. But according to this compendium that we have of Stephen King, it was produced using an audio technology called Kunststoff, which is like artificial head, so it's like a binaural sound. Hey, binaural, great Pearl Jam album. And the dramatization had
Mills,
this.
I just rolled
Yeah.
out of her head.
It had, so it basically was supposed to kind of do this sort of advanced software to make you feel like you're really there, which is great because obviously the mist surrounds you. And
Can you imagine an augmented reality mist?
oh my god, that would be great.
Oh my god.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. Somebody experienced both. Do you prefer the Mist 3D or Shrek 4D? Which is the fourth dimension?
That's a hard one because I love Shrek 4D, and I really love the fact that it would replaced something that isn't timeless, like Alfred Hitchcock. But yeah, that's a
whole other podcast
So-
again
for
I'm
Universal
gonna track
Studios.
that down. I want to listen to that audio drama.
Yeah, it's great. That was the first introduction to the story, and it was very immersive, as they noted in the
How
description
many
of it.
noses would you give it?
For that, that's like a 4.5 for me.
Wow,
So
okay.
it was such a fun, and that's the thing with me is like I'm so ADHD that it's hard for me to really hone in on audiobooks. I can't do audiobooks for the life of me, but like radio dramas for some reason I love. Like I love Salem's Lot's radio drama that I reviewed for the Salem's Lot episode. And
It's
you should
just really
definitely check it out.
immersive,
Yeah.
Like I listen to a lot of like Doctor Who radio dramas,
Yeah.
and you can really get lost in it once you get hooked.
Well, they're paced for listening.
Yeah.
Books are not written with that same pace.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the final adaptation
Well, here's the
really
thing.
briefly. In
We can-
2017, about
the
a
good
year
news
ago.
the good news is Well, there's no good news, actually.
No, there is good news. A year ago, Spike TV released a TV series on The Mist. It ran for one season and was canceled.
And we have the pilot in our collection behind you, somewhere in there. It's a black sleeve that was very generously given to us by
I
Spike.
haven't seen any of
Recipes.
these episodes. I hear that people are holed up not only in a supermarket, but in a church and a hospital.
Good idea.
And that they start seeing things like in the mist, like memories or traumatic instances from their past. It sounds bad, and from what I hear, it is bad.
Well, here's the thing. We all watched the pilot, right?
I didn't.
This is the days before Mel when we reviewed this show.
Yeah.
Days before
Pre-Mel.
Mel.
Mac and I watched it alone, and we
BM.
BM.
Like
Yeah, I was
bowel
thinking,
movement.
what are that shows again? Before Mel BM.
Mike and I almost took Drayton's way out at
Yeah.
the end of the
But you'd run out of bullets. The good news is if you go back to episode 19 of the Losers Club podcast, we've got a great review. I think it's Randall, myself, and Mike on the episode. We go on for about 15 minutes on the show. Long story short, show sucked. I think that was like one of the worst Stephen King adaptations we'd ever seen. And a totally botched opportunity.
Yeah.
We're talking about, no offense meant, but I'm sure it'll be taken that way, like grade Z acting, B level performers. It was bad.
My favorite story that isn't really one of your stories is that you guys talk about the AV Club reviewer who had to watch every episode.
I'll tell you what, we should
can sort of
actually
see his descent into madness.
and I would still read those reviews, and I would read about these plot twists and think that is so awful. And it was canceled, In this day and age, I feel like shows usually get like 1 or 2 seasons no matter what, but this thing was canceled.
It was
after the first.
we're
This is-
done.
we want to thank the creators.
This idea, even if you lengthen it out, it's a one season or mini series at best. You can't do
Yeah.
multiple seasons of this idea without it getting boring as hell. Because like, how much stuff can you have happen in the
Hold
mist?
on. Let me read just like the first 4.
Oh, this is these some of these are
headlines
great.
from the AV Club.
Well, who is this writer?
It's
God bless them.
Vinny Mancuso,
God bless you.
In the Mist, the weather hides a very human horror story.
which very generous.
Sure.
B
Next
for that one.
The Mist hits a moose-sized problem in its second episode.
Another B.
The Mist is still stuck between absurd and serious.
C plus.
Uh-oh.
In its fourth episode, The Mist stops being horrifying and starts getting hilarious.
C plus.
A flashback-filled episode does nothing to help The Mist make sense.
C.
Keep going. There's only 5 left.
The Mist may just be the most illogical series on TV right now.
For some reason, a C plus.
The Mist
This is
seventh
the best
episode. The Mist seventh episode saves The Dark Tower from being this week's worst Stephen King adaptation.
Wow.
C. And then here it goes.
The
Here it
Mist
goes.
drops a twist that we all saw coming, still manages to make it seem gross.
D.
Grenades and doppelgangers make for the most entertaining trip into the Mist yet.
C.
The Mist ends its first season with incest, death, and nonsense.
C.
Oh, God.
Wow, it sounds like some
Generous
of those C's
Cs,
should
by
have
the
been
way.
like, D.
Those C's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The rating system over there is always kind of weird.
There,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
a little
glimpse
generous.
the journey of that poor reviewer.
Sad.
I would not recommend going into this show.
No,
There is
not at
not.
all.
It's very rare that there's a TV show that's an ensemble series where you can't find one fucking character to latch onto. And the only one that came close, I think we like the dad maybe, but then the dad's off early on, so then that's
Yeah, he's
screwed.
killed. So
They're not the same characters. They're completely new characters.
They're
There's
very
no
new characters.
Drayton. There's no...
But here's the thing: before this came out, because it was all the rage, because the Dark Tower was coming out, and everyone was trying to find connective tissue to Stephen King's works. The director of this series was trying to tease the fact that like this could still exist in Darabont's movie world, and it's just like absurd. It's just
nah, dog.
absurd. No, it's stupid. This is a bad idea for a premise. I think when we initially reviewed it, when we reviewed it only
The initial review.
yeah, when we
The initial and
jumped
final
ship
review.
very fast.
Yeah, minds have not changed.
We discussed how it's not really laid out for a series. Like it's hard because you really need the Mist to happen immediate. It doesn't give it a lot of time to
Well,
kind
that's
of
the
build
problem
character.
is that
you know?
episode 1, the Mist hits.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, well,
It's like this is a situation where, especially if you're going to be building these characters and making like all of this other stuff interesting, you could have easily had the Mist hit like halfway through the season, or if not the last episode. You could have just built this weird drama. I mean, you could have gone into the Arrowhead project more and really developed that so that the Mist was present but contained or something, and then had the actual Mist event happen for the second season, and then had to be a 3-season thing. No, they didn't do any of that shit.
I think
it's like spit
this-
in first episode.
The series once again proves that the best medium for this story is ultimately. Well, I love the movie, but I think just the novella format is still like
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, because if you extend it out, it just like you said, like you both said, it just doesn't work. And it didn't work.
No.
And it didn't work.
And it didn't work.
Those are the adaptations of The Mist.
The Mist.
If no one has anything else to add, let's just kind of preview what's coming up for us. Next book episode is going to be Skeleton Crew, the remainder of the stories.
The lower half of whatever we find our votings, whatever our votings are,
Yeah, much like Night Shift, it'll be like the bottom 10 and then the top 10.
Yeah.
We're going to rank them.
Yeah.
We're ranking.
We're
We're
ranking.
gonna go in order, and yeah. So the next couple weeks are going to be Skeleton Crew, I guess.
So
Yeah,
definitely
we may or may
finish
not
up the
include
crew.
the Mist. I mean, I feel like we can probably just kind of toss it in at the end and
Yeah,
see
it's
where it would
tough.
fall.
It's tough to compare. It's like comparing a novel and novella almost.
Right.
But we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll find along with us. Find along.
Right.
With us.
And depending on what news strikes,
Yeah.
that might just be. This might be a different season's. No, this might just be a Skeleton Crew June.
Yeah, it's true. We might have to, because if something major happens, we got some more casting news that just came in. So
Skeleton June.
we might have to either bump it out Skeleton June.
I like that.
Love it. It's Pride Month and it's Skeleton June.
And then after that,
Finally.
and then after that, going into July, we're going to be, going right into Castle Rock.
It's the summer of Castle Rock.
It's the summer of reading it and getting ready. Because we
and we are really hoping that Castle Rock is not like Spike TV's.
I have much more faith, I will say, in the prospects for Castle Rock than I ever did for The Mist. I'll say that too.
I'm willing to.
Are you going to get
no.
preemptive
Oh,
notices?
wow.
What are they?
Hold on.
Oh,
Let's write
preemptive
down.
noses.
I'm willing to put some money down that Castle Rock is just going to deliver in all the ways that we want. Because look, 11/22 came in and just
J.J. Abrams
knocked
involved
us.
in that.
Yeah.
We were talking about this morning
Yeah.
about trying to see like when, with what was the Renaissance, where did it really truly begin? And I guess in novel form for the most part, because 11/22, the book, or Under the Dome, was really kind of like a return to form for
Yeah,
King. And then
11/22
you
is
had
big,
revival and all this other stuff. But in terms of like pop culture with
Other
like,
mediums.
yeah, other mediums, like 11/22 really is the strongest since The Mist. I feel.
Would you say that Under the Dome TV series didn't live up to your
Oh
expectations?
yeah, no, I loved it, and it was really great use of a great character actor such as Dean Norris. But
Sex gifts.
yeah, sex gifts.
Sex gifts.
Well, definitely take care and read it while we're covering Castle Rock.
Get
because it
started
will
like
be close on the
ASAP
heels.
because that book's really big and has a lot of rich material
Yes.
in it.
We're going to be diving in we still haven't figured out the format for that yet because it's going to be a big one.
It's a huge one, and we've got some interesting ideas, but I don't know how we're going to execute it. There's some cool stuff, but also stick around for more news on Greetings from Castle Rock, our film festival that's going to be hitting the Music Box here in Chicago Friday, July 27th, and Saturday, July 28th. We've already announced the preliminary lineup. We're going to be adding more films. The film that we talked about today, The Mist, is going to be a part of that lineup.
Five noses from Mike.
5 noses from me. So if you want to see how those 5 nosers translate, you want to come to Chicago and see this on the big screen. We are, as I mentioned earlier, we are trying to get that black and white version. If not, the original one's still great.
It's still, don't worry. We're still showing The Mist.
Yeah, so that's
and not
gonna
the
be there.
TV series.
Not the
No.
TV series.
No.
We're gonna, we're trying to get some special guests. We have one soft confirmation. We're not gonna announce it here
Yeah,
yet.
no point in doing that yet.
We're gonna be announcing ticketing information very shortly, so you can get your badges or your single screening tickets, and a couple more really cool things that we're gonna add in there. So it's exciting. It's a really cool summer. So
Cool.
Please, I mean, if you're close enough, make the trip down.
yeah.
Or fly out.
Fly out.
Come on. We're all going to be here. What a good time.
If you're in
You
the
meet us, we'll
contiguous
talk.
United States, there's no
Hey,
excuse,
if you approach
really.
us, we'll talk to you. you know?
And as Michael Wilbon says, Chicago is the greatest place to be in the summer. So
Hey.
There you go. Please leave us reviews on iTunes, Facebook, anywhere else you can really think of. But those are the big 2 that we love to see them on. I feel we haven't gotten one in a while. So, like, who wants to break that trend? I'll be very happy. We are on Twitter. We're on Goodreads. We're on Instagram. We're
MySpace.
on. We have a live. Each of us have a live journal that we contribute to. That's not true. I wish it was. And I think we'd really appreciate to hear from you. Mm-hmm. Until we do. Long days and
pleasant nights.
I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you know you want somebody to treat you good.
Consequence Podcast Network.